Chicago Bears have come to town, ready to do battle with the Vikings on Sunday Night Football.
Sunday night, baby!
Bears, Vikings.
Got it.
She's on her way.
Tonight is the night! Get it done, baby! We got everything we work for!
Comes down to this.
All right, Sunday night, here we go. Last on the lights for the ultimate show. Get on your feet, it's about to explode. Hey, Jack, it's a fact, the game's back in town. Bears and the Vikes slugging pound for pound. Stadium's rocking, time to crank up the sound. The NFL's best have come to play. For every fan, there's just one thing left to say. I've been waiting all day for Sunday night. The tough in a rough in the primetime fight. More than a game, it's every fan's right. 'Cause I've been waiting all day for Sunday night.
Peterson going to the end zone for a touchdown.
Boy, is he fun to watch.
Forte with a first down and a lot more.
Sunday night football on NBC. Al and John are the best on TV. Players are ready, set the big boys free. 'Cause the NFL rocks on NBC.
More than 64,000 fans have come in from the 26-degree chill outdoors into the Metrodome, which might as well be the Decibel Dome as the Minnesota Vikings come out onto the field, ready to take on Brian Urlacher and the Chicago Bears on NBC's Sunday Night Football. Al Michaels, John Madden, Andrew Kramer, welcome to Minneapolis. The winner of this game will be an undisputed possession of first place in the NFC North with a record of 7-5. And if the Bears win, in effect, they'll be 2 games up because they beat Minnesota 48-41 in Chicago in October, and they would own the tiebreaker. Their offense led by a great-looking rookie running back from Tulane, Matt Forte, and this team will play its next 3 games in the friendly confines of Soldier Field after tonight. Meanwhile, Minnesota started the season with a record of 1-3, but they've won 5 out of their last 7. They have the guy who's probably the best running back in the league, in Adrian Peterson. Bears coach Lovie Smith says he's the best player in the league, period. The much-traveled Gus Frerotte is their quarterback, and this is a team trying to get hot and get to the playoffs for only the 2nd time in the last 8 seasons. John, coaches are always talking about we have to run the ball, we have to stop the run. The Vikings do both with great effectiveness, yet they're only 6-5. So what else do they have to do tonight for the balance of the year?
Well, you know, after you say you have to run the ball and you have to stop the run, the next thing coaches say is we have to have balance and we can't become one-dimensional. Because we know that the Bears are just going to hug the line of scrimmage, and as Gus Frerotte says, they're going to dare me to throw the ball, and he said, I'm going to have to throw it to make our running a little easier.
And one of the guys who'll be throwing it to is the former Bear, Bernard Berrien. Now, for Chicago, you could almost say the same thing, so let me pose the same question. They run the ball, and they stop the run oftentimes with great effectiveness. What else do they have to do?
Well, I think they also have to spread it out. You know, Kyle Orton has had a bad ankle the last couple of weeks, and he's been getting rid of the ball quickly, throwing short dump passes to his running backs and his tight ends. And he was saying we have to expand our passing game, and we also have to get the ball to our wide receivers tonight.
They've been going at it since the Vikings came into the National Football League in 1961. Chicago, Minnesota, first place in the NFC North at stake tonight on NBC's Sunday Night Football.
Sunday Night Football is brought to you by the GMC.
Vikings head coach in his 3rd year at the helm is Brad Childress. He's down on the field with Andrea Kramer. Andrea.
Thanks a lot, Al. You always have a unique way of framing things to your team. Last week you talked about the fierce urgency of now. What was your message to the team before this game?
Well, you know what? Seasons are long things, and first Bears game has nothing to do with this Bears game. It's about improving, playing together, and what you've learned as you go.
What's the formula to beat the Bears tonight?
Well, I think offensively we got to block all their movement in the front because there's going to be a ton of it. We're playing it like a blitz drill, and I don't think we'll be disappointed.
All right, Brett, thanks for your time. We'll see you at halftime. Thank you.
All right, Andrea, the Chicago Bears won the toss and elected to defer to the second half, and so they will kick off, and Darius Renaud will run the kickback. There he is, a rookie. Some of his numbers at West Virginia, where he excelled at running back kickoffs, and Robbie Gould is ready to get this one underway. The Chicago Bears, the road team tonight. Today, road teams in the 11 games played this afternoon in the National Football League, the road teams were 10-1. The only home team to win today was Tampa Bay, eking out the win against the Saints. And here we go from Minneapolis with a line drive kick that will bounce into the end zone for a touchback. And the Vikings will take over at the 20-yard line as we take a look at their starters.
Gus Frerotte, Tulsa.
Adrian Peterson, Oklahoma.
Bernard Berrien, Fresno State.
Bobby Wade, Arizona.
Dante Shanko, Morgan State Bear.
Jim Kleinsasser, University of North Dakota. Ryan McKinney, the U. Steve Hutchinson, Michigan.
Matt Burke, Harvard.
Anthony Herrera, the real UT.
Ryan Cook, New Mexico.
Real UT, as in the University of Tennessee, says one Anthony Herrera. So Frerotte back to pass on first down as Urlacher blitzed, and the first play of the game is a pass that is caught by Bernard Berrien, the ex-Bear, out at the 31-yard line on a first down on the game's first play.
You know, Brad Childers was just talking about all the stuff that they have to pick up right in the middle of the line. They had an 8-man front. They brought Mike Brown in as the safety, and they were going to blitz to stop the run right off the bat. And that was an excellent play call there, going to the pass on the outside.
Peterson is the tailback on first down from the 31-yard line. And here he goes, and Adrian Peterson out to the 38-yard line. Adrian Peterson, drafted last year out of the University of Oklahoma, and made an immediate splash before the season was done. Not only was he the Rookie of the Year, but he had established a National Football League single-game mark, 296 rushing yards against San Diego.
Right, Brad Childers says that he's a violent runner, and on that run, he kind of looked a little like that, didn't he? Lovie Smith on the other side says he's the best player in the NFL.
Second down and 3. The fake to him, and then they set up the pass to Jeff Dugan, and Dugan, tight end / fullback, H-back, first down. Mike Brown the tackle. Let's take a look at the Chicago defense.
Adewale Ogunleye, Indiana. Tommy Harris, the University of Oklahoma.
Dusty Dvorak, Oklahoma.
Alex Brown, University of Florida.
Nick Roach, Northwestern.
Brian Urlacher, University of New Mexico.
Lance Briggs,
Desert Swarm, Arizona.
Charles Tillman, the University of Louisiana.
Kevin Payne, Louisiana Monroe. Mike Brown, Nebraska. Corey Graham, University of New Hampshire.
And that's Adrian Peterson now in motion. They have Chester Taylor in the backfield, and the pass goes to Taylor as Frerotte has to check it down because of that big rush put on primarily by Alex Brown. So that time they had both Peterson and Chester Taylor in the lineup at the same time.
That's one of the things that Brad Childers says he wants to do more of, but he's only going to have one of them in the backfield at one time, and then the other one will be split. That time he had Adrian Peterson split, kind of brought him like a fake reverse, and then tried to throw the screen pass to Chester Taylor.
Taylor primarily on third down. This is 2nd and 11, and so it is Peterson carrying, and he'll take the ball out to the 42-yard line, where it'll be third down after the Danielle Manning tackle, 3rd down and 9.
And Danielle Manning is a defensive back, and you say, how did he get in there? You'll see him, number 38 there. He was coming on a blitz off the slot. And you know, you say, which team in the NFL blitzes more than any other team? The answer would be the Chicago Bears.
They send 5 or more about 18 times a game. Chester Taylor is in the backfield as Frerotte takes the snap out of the gun, buys time, steps up, but then holds on, and Alex Brown is there to knock him down and sack him back at the 39-yard line. Urlacher came around to put the pressure on to send Farad scrambling toward the line of scrimmage, and Brown got there for the sack.
Yeah, we talk about the blitzes and what they're going to do. You see Brian Urlacher, he's coming right up the middle there. He gets free. He makes Farad move, and then here comes Alex Brown. That's one thing that, Farad is not very good at moving in the pocket. He has to get back, set up, and get rid of the ball.
Devin Hester, who's lost his job as the kickoff return man, but still returns punts. Pluie sends this one to the coffin corner, and that kick just does go into the end zone. It looked for a moment as if he would knock it out inside the 5. Instead, it's a touchback. And here comes Orton and company to take over at the 20 when we come back. West Airlines with low fares and no hidden fees. By Sprint, get NFL Mobile Live only on the Now Network. By Nissan, inviting you to ship the way you move through the world. And by Miller Lite, great taste, less filling. Holidazzle is what they call it in Minneapolis. A little bit of snow overnight. Temperature in the mid-20s. Nice and toasty here inside the dome per usual. And now Chicago with the ball. And they start with Orton in the shotgun. And they empty the backfield. 2 slots and 2 wide. And Orton will fire over the middle. And that's incomplete. Intended for one of his 2 tight ends, Desmond Clark. They use a 2 tight end setup about a third of the time.
And when they do use the 2 tight end setup, the Vikings are going to play nickel or 5 defensive backs. They're going to play tight end Greg Olsen like he's a wide receiver. He's out here right now. And
they're going no huddle here on 2nd down and 10 from the 20-yard line. Orton looking to the near side, and that pass is incomplete. Intended for Greg Olsen, and the coverage is great by Cedric Griffin. So the corner at 6 feet 203, staying with a 6'5", 254-pound tight end who split out.
Yeah, and he was a guy that would just circle and show it out there. They try and get him outside and get that big tight end mismatch, just that big body against the smaller corner. Last week they tried to get the ball to Greg Olsen. He didn't catch 1 ball, and they wanted to get off started tonight. Getting him going. That was against the Rams. You've got a flag here because it looked like Minnesota may have been offside as Brian Robinson came across the line of scrimmage, but it's so loud nobody heard the whistle. Bill Levy's the ref.
Outside. Number 91 defense. 5-yard penalty. Replay 3rd down.
Call it on Ray Edwards. The Vikings have the most penalties and the most penalty yards assessed in the National Football League this year. There it is, 7.5 per game, and they give up 67 yards per game in penalty yardage.
And maybe that's part of the reason you asked earlier, how are they so good at running the ball and stopping the run, and they're 6-5 because they're deficient in other areas, including too many penalties.
And turnovers. They had 5 turnovers in that 48-41 loss to Chicago in October. And on 3rd and 5, that pass is deflected and then almost intercepted. Intended for Brandon Lloyd. The coverage was great. Jared Allen picked up in that trade in the offseason from Kansas City, put the pressure on Orton, and in comes the punting unit.
Watch St. Clair here. He never really got started. It looked like, this is a tough place to hear. And they use a silent count, and St. Clair was there, and it didn't look like he ever got out of his stance.
Which is a bad thing when you're facing Jared Allen, who plants Kyle Orton. And into punt comes Brad Maynard. Bernard Berrien's going to run the punt back, or at least attempt to, but the coverage is great as he fields it at the 32-yard line and then gets taken down as he tried to circle back by Trumaine McBride. 43-yard kick and -3 on the return. From the 30-yard line now, 1st down. Bobby Wade was the man in motion. He's their leading receiver, and there goes Peterson to the left side. And he gets knocked down after a gain of 1, and we go to Andrea.
There's some early adversity for the Bears defense. Nose tackle Dusty Dvorak injured his arm on the first series. They took him right to the locker room, didn't even look at him on the sidelines. They have ruled him out. Anthony Adams moves in his place, and the good news, Al, at least, is that the Bears dressed 8 defensive linemen tonight.
They did. They brought 8. Adams would have played a lot anyway, rotating in and out, but now minus Dvorak. Tommy Harris, the other tackle, Lagunle and Brown, the defensive end. 2nd down and 9, the ball at the 32-yard line. And there's Peterson, who tries to cut it off the left side. And Peterson gets tripped up by Nick Roach, the outside linebacker, number 53. Years ago in baseball, there was a guy named Harry Simpson, and they used to call him Suitcase because he got traded all the time and kept moving around. Gus Frerotte would be the modern-day NFL equivalent of Suitcase Simpson. Frerotte in the league since 1994 when he came in with Washington. 15 years, 7 different teams, and this is his 2nd stint with the Vikings.
He was saying his daughter is a freshman in high school, and she's gone to 9 different schools already. That's why they stayed in St. Louis.
3rd down and 6. And Ferrat's going to get sacked by Tommy Harris, who had 2 sacks last week. Harris had gotten off to a slow start this year, causing a lot of consternation among Bear fans, and all of a sudden he's coming on for Lovie Smith and company.
Yeah, Tommy Harris looks like the Tommy Harris of a couple of years ago. You're going to see he's on the 3 technique right there against Anthony Herrera. Herrera didn't have a chance. He just took his outside shoulder and just went right by him. When Tommy Harris is getting off the ball like that, it can be a long night for Gus Frerotte.
Chris Kluwe to punt. High floater. Hester's in the call for a fair catch, and he hauls it in at the 32-yard line. Bears will come out for their 2nd possession with 8:53 to go in the opening quarter in Minneapolis. 0-0. For first place in the division this late into the season, and you can take a look at the NFL since the merger with the AFL. 46 meetings between the teams who are tied for the division lead this late into a campaign. And 1st down now. Matt Forte picks up a couple of yards, and let's take a look at the Chicago offense.
Kyle Orton, Purdue.
Matt Forte, Tulane University.
Devin Hester, the U. Rashid Davis, West Los Angeles College.
Des Clark, Kathleen High School.
Greg Olson, the U.
John St. Clair, Virginia.
Josh Beekman, Boston College.
Holden Cruz, Washington. Roberto Garza, Texas A&M Kingsville.
John Tate, Brigham Young.
Matt Forte, the rookie, about 80 yards shy now of 1,000 yards this season. 2nd-round pick out of Tulane on 2nd and 7. That pass is caught by Hester, and Hester is going to break free, and nobody's going to catch Devin Hester, who goes in for a touchdown. 65 yards on a 2nd and 7, and that's, of course, one of the reasons that they put Devin Hester into the lineup, into the offensive game plan. He may have lost his job as the kickoff returner, but he makes an immediate splash here in Minneapolis tonight.
Yeah, and this is what the Bears were talking about last night when they said we have to get the ball to our wide receivers. And, of course, that wide receiver who's going to give you the big play is that guy right there, one of the most exciting players in the NFL, Devin Hester. And that's why they moved him to wide receiver. You know, one of those things that anytime he gets his hands on the ball, he can take it to distance.
Robbie Gould for the point after, the longest pass play of Kyle Orton's career. And the Chicago Bears draw first blood in Minnesota tonight with 8:04 to play in the opening quarter. Devin Hester takes it to the house. 7-0 Chicago. Devin Hester with 17 career touchdowns. That's the 5th on a reception. It's the 3rd this season for him. He is their leading wide receiver right now. He's caught 32 balls. Their 2 leading pass catchers are the running back Forte and the tight end Olson. But a 65-yard reception to make it 7-0. And Raynaud to run this one back from the 2-yard line, but not very far. Taken down at the 16-yard line by Earl Bennett, a rookie out of Vanderbilt, as we go back to the Hester touchdown.
Right, and that was one of the things the Bears wanted to do, is get the ball to their outside receiver. Antoine Winfield is the corner there, but he should have help from Sharper here. I mean, Darren Sharper is a free safety in the middle. Now, when he catches that ball, Sharper has to make that tackle right there. I mean, Hester made him look like he'd never played before. I mean, that's tough. I mean, it's a tough job for a free safety, but that's what his job is.
Not too many guys beat Winfield and Sharper on the same play. Ball at the 16-yard line, first down. They give the ball to Peterson, and Peterson's going to try to cut it back, but he gets taken down after a minimal gain by Marcus Harrison. This Chicago defense, and of course the hallmark of the Bears through the years, through the decades, has been the defense. Take a look at that against Tennessee 3 weeks ago. They held Tennessee to less than a yard per rush, even though the Titans won the game. Then Green Bay ran through them like they were a sieve. And then last week, less than a yard per carry for the Rams. So the defense has been, it's been good, but it's been very inconsistent this season.
Yeah, you see how they press the line of scrimmage. They get the linebackers in there and blitz and stuff. If you get by them, you get right to the safety.
And over the middle on 2nd and 8, Farad under pressure is able to sling it into the tight end, Visanthe Shenko. The one-time Giant. Lance Briggs came in to hit Farad as he got rid of it, and that's a 20-yard gain and a first down.
Yeah, and I think that's the exact place that you have to go. Just look at the hole in the middle there. I mean, Peterson gets a pretty good pickup block there, but if you say where is the weakness in this defense passing-wise, to me it's right there in the middle of the field. And that'll be there all the time when the Bears use this defense with the 8 men up.
Farad again off the play fake, and Farad, that's his first incomplete pass intended for Bobby Wade, and it will be 2nd down and 10. Corey Graham with the coverage on the play. Corey Graham is going to take over as a starter now that Nathan Vacher has been placed on injured reserve with a broken hand.
And I was watching the other day, I was watching Gus Frerotte in practice, and you know, I mean, he's a 15-year vet, 37 years old and all those things, but he still has a quick release and a very live arm. I mean, you know, you think a guy played that long, you know, it's slow up his arm and so on, but not at all.
Here's Peterson, and he can't get on track as he's met by about 4 Bears, led by Tommy Harris and Lance Briggs. So they've been able to bottle up Peterson, at least at the outset tonight.
You don't think that they have a big X on his chest? I mean, watch what they do here. Urlacher's going to come right here, get the penetration, get on their side of the line of scrimmage, make him cut. Then as he cuts right back in to Lance Briggs. Still 2 of the best linebackers in pro football, Brian Urlacher and Lance Briggs.
3rd and 9.
Urlacher's starting to look like his old self in the last few games.
Here they come. Farad gets it away, and the pass is incomplete. The coverage was good, and back there in that coverage was Urlacher going back with the tight end Shenko, who earlier had the 20-yard reception. It'll be 4th down.
You know, with this defense, this is the toughest thing. See, Urlacher, he's up in there tight, but he still has pass responsibility. So he's up on the line of scrimmage. The ball snapped. He goes back, and he gets Shenko at the same time the ball gets there. That is quite a reaction.
Kluwe to punt, already his 3rd punt of the game. Hester's going to let it bounce outside the 20-yard line. Can the Vikings down it? And they keep it from getting to the goal line, and they stop it from going into the end zone. They'll spot the ball inside the 1. So Kluwe, who just missed knocking one out of bounds at the 1 earlier, gets a break this time. Chuck, Heroes, and My Own Worst Enemy is your lineup on NBC beginning at 8 Eastern and Pacific. Mighty Mississippi flowing through the Twin Cities. It always rocks in the Dome, and right now it's rocking as the Bears are backed up inside their own 2-yard line, and they have Jason Davis, who they've just activated because of an injury to Jason McKee in at fullback. And right now you've got Bill Levy coming over to Lovie Smith, who's thinking about challenging the call on the punt.
Chicago is challenging the ruling on the field that the kicking team player was not contacting the end zone when he touched the football.
Well, we had a similar play in that Washington-Dallas game where if your body winds up on the goal line, you're in the end zone. So Lovie Smith wants Bill Levy to go under the hood. Similar play in the Washington-Dallas game. If the player is touching the goal line, while he's touching the ball. And here is Herron. So the first guy to touch it, Eric Frampton, was able to bat it and keep it in play. But the question is now, is 58 Herron on the goal line while he is touching the ball? And that is exactly what the referee is looking at under the hood right now, Bill Levy. And here he comes with the decision.
After reviewing the play, number 58 of the kicking team knee was on the goal line when he contacted the football. Therefore, it is a touchback. Chicago will not be charged a timeout.
So Lovie Smith with a challenge, and he wins the challenge. And for the second time now, Kluwe comes within a yard of making an almost perfect kick. But it winds up as a touchback
You know,
again.
but with that rule, there's no reason for that second guy to come in and jump in the ball. Because after the first guy hits it and throws it back, if they just let it sit there and get around it, they don't have to jump on it.
They don't
have to slide into the end of the end zone. Now, the first guy doesn't kill the ball. It's not dead, but there's no reason for that second guy to come sliding in there and take it into the end zone.
Unless you think the ball is going to bounce back into the end zone. Herron coming down full speed, trying to make the play on the ball, and Lovie Smith is right there with a challenge. So the challenge is fruitful. The ball comes out to the 20-yard line, and Forte with a big hole through the middle, and the rookie out of Tulane with an 18-yard gain out to the 38-yard line, running right through the middle of that Minnesota run defense behind a Greg Olsen block.
Yeah, Greg Olsen, the tight end, is in the backfield, and he's going to make a lead block. He's right here. It's not a great block, but they get a double right there on Kevin Williams, and they get him out of that tackle spot. They get him moving sideways, and that opened it up.
They've got a full start against Chicago.
Full start. Number 23 offense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
That's Devin Hester.
I talked to Leslie Frazier the other day, the defensive coordinator of the Vikings, and he said that there's two things that they weren't ready for last time. One was the no huddle, and they're ready for it tonight, and they're getting it. And he said the other thing was they didn't play nickel against Greg Olsen. They didn't play him like a wide receiver, and they are playing him in nickel tonight.
Frazier took over as the defensive coordinator. Remember, Mike Tomlin was here 2 years ago, and that led to his head coaching spot, his ascendancy to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Frazier now in his second year as the DC under Childress. 1st and 15. Orton will throw, and that pass is incomplete. Try to get it to Hester. Antoine Winfield knocked it away. A couple of weeks ago against Detroit, everybody held their breath in Chicago because Orton was hit as he ran to the sideline, and before he was able to get out of bounds, down he went. It looked like, and he thought for a moment the worst. Thought he might have fractured his ankle. It was just sprained. He did miss the next game against Tennessee. Came back. He was far less than 100% against Green Bay. Played better last week against St. Louis, and told us last night he thinks he's all the way back. Screen, Hester. But that one is read perfectly, and right there to wrap him up is Cedric Griffin. And let's take a look at that Viking D.
Ray Edwards, Cincinnati High School. Pat Williams, Wasman High School.
Kevin Williams, Oklahoma State.
Jared Allen, Culinary Academy.
Chad Greenway, University of Iowa.
Napoleon Harris, Northwestern.
Ben Lieber, Kansas State University.
Antoine Winfield, The Ohio State University.
Darren Sharper, College of William and Mary.
Mediu Williams, University of Maryland.
Cedric Griffin, Great School of Texas.
Williams, free agent pickup from Cincinnati. On 3rd and 15, Orton throws, and the pass is caught. Inbounds at the 43-yard line of Minnesota by Brandon Lloyd, who got off to a pretty good start this year, then got hurt. He's rounding back into form. 24-yard gain on a 3rd and 15.
Great pass by Kyle Orton, and he's showing here that he can push off that right ankle tonight. Last week, it was a little tender, and he felt that he really couldn't push off, and if you can't push off that back foot, you don't get any torque. He pushed off, and he got pretty good torque. He got real good torque on that last pass. What he said he likes about Brandon Lloyd, he said, I can just throw the ball up, and he'll go up and get it.
Now Forte will get stopped in the backfield as he tried to get to the outside, and Ray Edwards, number 91, is there. You know, you think about the Bears and the great history, of course, of running backs, and Walter Payton, obviously, and Gale Sayers, and even guys like, Neil Anderson through the years, who was the last Bear running back to get to a Pro Bowl. That was in '91. And then a couple of years ago, they had Thomas Jones and Cedric Benson, who they drafted 4th overall in the draft. Jones left to go to New York, better contract. Benson turned out to be a bust. And then this guy was a godsend. They got him in the 2nd round out of Tulane, and he's touched the ball more than any running back in the league, combined carries and receptions. 2nd and 14, going deep down the sideline and over Hester's head, and incomplete. He's covered by Winfield. It'll be 3rd down. But, John, who would have figured when the season started they had Kevin Jones, the ex-Lion, and they had their own Adrian Peterson, not to be confused with Minnesota's Adrian Peterson, and then all of a sudden this guy emerges.
Yeah, and we saw him in the first regular season game of the year, and you knew right then he was something special. You know, and he does it all. I mean, it's not just a runner. I mean, he's a runner and he's a pass receiver. We saw in that last play, he's a blocker. You know, they could put him as a wing. They could put him out wide. He is a complete running back.
On 3rd and 14, and that is Hester, and he can't make the play that time. And again, it is Winfield, who figures to have a very busy night, breaking up the play. 4th down, and in comes the punting group.
Yeah, Winfield played that one well. That's the same play, the slant from the right side that they got the touchdown on. That time what Winfield did is he didn't let him have an inside release. He made him take an outside release and try and run the slant around him, and that delayed him. You can't do that.
Got rolled up on at the end of the play as well. Bernard Berrien is back to return the kick. Brad Maynard will send it into the air, and a fair catch is called for. They let it go, and that one is touched at the 5, and the Bears will make sure nobody will be in the end zone before
just
that gets in.
stand around it like that.
Right.
You don't have to jump on it.
Here's Adrian Peterson. Let's take a look in the history of the NFL. Most rushing yards in the first 25 games. ED, Jim Brown, Edgerrin James, an illustrious list. And there is Adrian Peterson in his first 25 games, averaging better than 100 yards per game on the ground. Great start to what figures to be a terrific career for him. The only thing people are wondering about with him is with his straight-up running style, will he be prone to getting hurt more than other backs? What do you think, John?
I don't think so. I don't think you can think about that. I don't think you worry about that. I think there's only one way to play, and it's the way Adrian Peterson played.
They'll give it to him again in Chicago. This time, there is Peterson, and look at that! Peterson taking half the Bear defense, maybe more, with him for a 1st down. It looked like a 3-yard gain, then it looked like a 5-yard gain, then it looked like a 7-yard gain, and the next thing you know, it's an 11-yard gain in the 1st down.
And that's what I'm talking about. That's why there's no way you protect yourself. There's only one way to play, and it's the way he played. I mean, he keeps everything alive. He keeps the feet going. He is going all the way. There is no way that you're going to get him down until you get a whole bunch of guys there.
2 minutes remaining in the quarter, and this time it is Peterson, and he'll get stopped because Mike Brown came on a run blitz. Mike Brown, the oft-injured safety who's been able to stay healthy this year, tackles him in the backfield for a loss of 2.
You know, and that's the other way to get him, and that's what Lovie Smith is thinking right now is get penetration, get in the backfield, and get him before he gets started, because you saw the play before that, when you don't get him before he gets started, and you let him run downhill with his strength and power and speed, you know, he's going to be an all-day second. If you get him in the backfield before he gets started, then this happens.
Peterson looking up at the screen as if to say, where'd that guy come from? 2nd and 12, and that pass is incomplete. He tried to get it to Berrien, and it will be 3rd down and 12 for Farrat. You know, we're talking about Gus Farrat. One thing we should point out, when the season started, Tavares Jackson was the quarterback. When Brad Childress took over this team, he inherited Dante Culpepper. Before he ever coached the game, he was gone. Then it was Brad Johnson and Brooks Bollinger. Then they drafted Jackson. He was their quarterback last year. He played 2 games this year. They went to Farrat.
Yeah, and, you know, talking to Gus Farrat after the 2nd game, they told him he was going to be the starter, but Brad Childress told him, not only are you going to be the starter for the next game, you are going to be my starter for the rest of the season.
3rd and 12. And the screen to Chester Taylor, and he'll get taken down well shy of the 1st down by Lance Briggs. So Farrat went from a guy thinking about retirement to being told in the middle of September, you're my starter for the rest of the year.
Right, and he was given Mondays and Tuesdays off because he was going to be a backup And then when he became the starter, that Monday and Tuesday off deal was no longer. So he still has his family in St. Louis, and that's a little problem there. But he loves the paycheck.
Don't we all?
In this economy.
In the economy. Kluwe's kick, his fourth punt, and Hester running around, and he gets taken down. So the coverage is great that time as he gets taken down by Hussein Abdullah. One thing we should talk about in regard to the Vikings is you take a look at Pat Williams. Kevin and Pat Williams, part of a small group of NFL players who have failed a drug test, found to have a banned substance, a diuretic in their system. As such, there's an automatic 4-game suspension. They've appealed to the NFL's ruling committee, saying the positive test was the result of taking the over-the-counter weight loss supplement Star Caps, which didn't list the banned ingredient on its label. The NFL is expected to render a decision by Tuesday. And so these guys, with a little bit of mystery surrounding them, as Forte picks up a couple more on that. Let's go to Andrea. Andrea, what do you know about this?
Well, yeah, Al, as you point out, it's a complicated issue, but the bottom line is this. The NFL's drug policy is very clear. Players are responsible for what they put in their bodies no matter what. Now, in the appeal, the attorney for Kevin and Pat Williams argued that since 2006, the NFL knew that this banned substance was in Star Caps, should have informed the players or the union, and didn't. So the suspensions would be unfair. But, Al, if the players' suspensions are upheld, they plan to seek a court injunction to hold off the suspensions so they can continue to play.
Otherwise, if they got suspended, they'd miss the entire rest of the regular season. That's the end of the quarter. Chicago 7, Minnesota nothing. And NBC's Sunday Night Football from Minneapolis will continue after these messages. By Duracell. Al Michaels, John Madden, Andrea Kramer. Sunday Night Football from the Twin Cities. Tommy Harris getting a tape job on the sideline. 7-0 Chicago. And the period begins with a 2nd down and 8 for the Bears at their own 37-yard line. Fake to Forte, a ton of time, and then the pass is low. The coverage was good. Pass intended that time for Rashid Davis. It'll be 3rd down and 8.
And that's probably why Kyle Orton is going to his wide receivers. It was one of the things the Bears wanted to do anyway, but I don't know that they anticipated or expected nickel on 1st and 2nd down against 2 tight ends. And so they're kind of taking Greg Olsen away and kind of forcing him to go outside.
3rd and 8, 7-yard average per play for Chicago. Of course, a lot of that thanks to that 65-yard reception by Hester for the game's only touchdown. 5-man rush, and that's enough to take Orton down in the backfield. Jared Allen, who they picked up in a trade with Kansas City, 5th year out of Idaho State, sacking Orton.
And he goes inside at John St. Clair. He'd been going outside. Now watch him here. He just comes up, takes the inside. St. Clair, again, expecting him to speed rush to the outside because that's what Jared Allen is. But if you're going to be a good speed rusher, every once in a while you have to take that inside quickly. And that's what Allen did.
Maynard's 3rd punt of the night. That's Berrien, and he'll fair catch it at the 35-yard line. We were talking about Gus Frerotte, the modern-day Suitcase Simpson, one of 2 quarterbacks to start for 7 different teams. The other was Chris Chandler, John Brody's son-in-law, who wound up taking Atlanta to a Super Bowl, and one of 3 quarterbacks to throw a TD pass for 7 different teams. You can add Vinny Testaverde to the mix.
You know, and those are guys that, just learn how to play football, take good care of their body, take good care of themselves, study hard, are good teammates, and they'll have a job in this league for a long time.
Now Peterson breaks away, and he turns a 4-yard gain into what might be a touchdown run, but Tillman is able to save it by knocking him down at the 5-yard line. Adrian Peterson, just when you think you have him, you don't, and a 5-yard gain becomes a 59-yard gain.
You know, Lance Briggs was talking about that last night, and he said the thing that sets Adrian Peterson apart are these kind of plays. You can think you have him. There's Briggs right there, square up on him, and he said he can just run away from you. The thing that sets him apart is his great speed. They all think that they had him. They think that he's not. Adrian Peterson is one of those running backs that never stop. And when he breaks in the open, you're not going to catch him.
First and goal from the 6 and the whistle before the play. And that was Brown again on the run blitz, but the whistle had sounded.
Minnesota called timeout before the snap. That's their first charge timeout. 30-second timeout.
Timeout for the Vikings, a minute and a half into the second quarter. Chicago on top 7-0 again, setting the importance of this game. The winner in undisputed possession of first place in the division. Green Bay, by the way, losing today to Carolina, as many of you know. So the winner would lead Green Bay by 2, and back again to that run by Peterson.
Well, that's why you love Adrian Peterson. You know, he's never going to give up on a run. You know, I was talking to him the other day about 8-man fronts. He said, I'm always going to see an 8-man front. He said, and I'm going to have to make some guys miss. He said, I'm going to have to find a crease. I'm going to have to cut back sometimes. I'm going to have to make moves. I'm going to have to do a lot of things, but that's who I am and what I am. And again, you know, we always look at him, and he's a big, strong, powerful guy, and you forget that he's one of the faster players in the league.
Peterson on first and goal, and this time they're able to stop him. And again, it's Brown coming in from his safety spot who got there first. It'll be second down and goal at the 5-yard line. Peterson in his first 4 games against the Bears, more rushing yards than anybody's ever gained in any 4-game span against the Bears. He's been averaging about 140 yards per game in his first 3 games against them. And Lovie Smith has watched this guy go into the end zone 7 times against his defense in the 3 games he's played against them.
He's proven Lovie Smith right when Lovie says he's the best player in the league.
Here goes a fade to the side of the end zone that gets tipped and is incomplete. Was almost intercepted. He threw it up for grabs. Brian Urlacher and Corey Graham were back there on the coverage on the fade pass intended in the corner of the end zone for Rice. It'll be third down and goal.
I think it was maybe tipped and kicked. You know, they're trying to get, yeah, it was tipped and kicked. They were trying to get a jump ball there. The kick kept it alive, and Brian Urlacher almost got it. But that's the old thing, you know, get my guy in the end zone and throw a jump ball up, but you can't throw that jump ball up short. You have to give your guy a chance. That should have been thrown to the back pylon.
Chester Taylor replaces Peterson, and again Farrat thrown in the end zone, and this time it is incomplete. That time he tried to get it to Bobby Wade, covered that time by the strong safety Kevin Payne, and Farrat goes down. So Farrat gets taken to the turf as he tries to throw another fade into the end zone, and it will be fourth and goal, but of primary importance to the Vikings right now is the condition of Farrat.
Yeah, you're going to see the blitz right up here in these A-gaps, right up the middle on Gus Farrat. He got the pressure there. He had to move to the left to get that ball out there. And again, I think that was a late hit because he did get rid of the ball. And you see, oh yeah, that is a very late hit.
By Adewale Ogunleye with the hit. There was no flag, but an injury timeout as Farrat is still down. They went wild.
Well, it is a late hit. I mean, there's no question that it's a late hit, and that's the referee's call, and he's standing right there, and that's the only thing that he has to call. And how he can miss that, I have no idea, unless he had already taken his eyes off the quarterback.
23-yard field goal attempt for Longwell now, and that is good to give the Minnesota Vikings their first points of the night. So 12:45 remaining in the opening half at the Metrodome. Field goal set up by the great run by Peterson, who already has 83 yards tonight. 7-3 Chicago.
Okay.
To go. Crowd still up in arms about what they perceive should have been a personal foul. It would have been a first and goal. Instead, they settle for a field goal. Danielle Manning to run the kickoff back, and Manning, who takes over these duties from Devin Hester. Looks like the old Hester as he brings it back out to the 48-yard line. And now Hester will come in on offense, and we'll go back and take a look at the hit again. For what it's worth, Bill Levy's crew is one of 2 crews this year that has not called a single roughing the passer penalty. John, either he didn't see it or he felt that it wasn't a hit to the head and it was a hit that wasn't serious enough to be a personal foul.
He can't think that. I mean, if he thought that, he's wrong. I mean, a guy can't make judgments and say it was a hit after he threw the ball, it was a late hit, but it's okay because he didn't mean any harm. That's not part of the rule. After the quarterback throws the ball, it's out of his hand and it's gone, you can't touch him. Now, whether it wasn't that bad or not, or whether, Farrat was, faking a little, I don't know, but it's still a penalty. And there's still, I mean, that's the referee's only job. He's back there, and his job is to watch and protect the quarterback.
Until the very end, too. So he doesn't get the flag. Bill Levy, one of the best in the league through the years, ref the Super Bowl in Detroit between Pittsburgh and Seattle 3 seasons ago. Greg Olson makes the catch. Olson across the 45-yard line of Minnesota. They'll spot the ball at the 44, and that'll set up a 3rd down and 2.
Greg Olson is kind of a special player for this Bear team. He's a second tight end, but he can really be used in a lot of different ways. They split him out as a wide receiver. They put him in the slot. We saw him in the backfield on lead plays. They can do a lot of things with him.
3 wide against the nickel on 3rd and 2. You got a flag, and that pass is caught by Rasheed Davis, who gets pushed back after he makes the catch and out of bounds, and Levy will make the call here in a moment. Darren Sharper indicating the penalty will be against Chicago, and it will be. When it comes to false starts, because of the noise in this place over the past 5 years, would Levy make the call?
The result of the play was a 1st down. However, there was an illegal formation. Offense, number 76 on the end of the line. 5-yard penalty, repeat 3rd down.
So not a false start, but an illegal formation. Number 76, that was John Tate.
And that's what you do is, when you're a visiting team in a noisy stadium and you're the tackle, that's the toughest position to get the snap count. So you kind of back off a little to get a little, a half a step start in pass protection.
It's the first cousin to a false start. 3rd and 7 from the 49-yard line. Out of the gun, inside handoff, Forte. And Forte fighting for the 1st down, but he'll come up short at the 43-yard line, and that will make it 4th down and 1 for the Bears.
I was never a big guy that, great running backs playing against each other, watch each other, and want to outdo one, but sometimes you see Matt Forte there, you wonder if, you watch Peterson and you see what he does and say, I want to get one of those like Adrian Peterson just got. But Forte always plays that well. I mean, he's been impressive with this Chicago Bear team since day one of training camp.
Already the 8th punt of the night. This is Maynard's kick, and that kick will roll out of bounds inside the 5-yard line, spotted at the 4. 10:15 to play, 1st half. 4-point lead for the Bears. When we last saw him, after absorbing that late hit, went to the bench, but he's fine, and he's back in with the ball at the 4-yard line. 1st down for Minnesota. Adrian Peterson, who already has collected 83 yards tonight, is the running back. Looking for more. Instead, he'll go from 83 to about 81. Losing a couple. 2nd down.
And Adrian Peterson does that. I mean, he's that kind of back. Remember, Barry Sanders was that way. I mean, he would have, a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a none and a -2. Then a 5th. Well, here it is right here.
Perfect.
It is. He has a 7, a 2, a 1, a 3, a 2, a none, a 10, a -2, 59, and 1.
And he hits the jackpot.
Again, because he has the power, the speed, the moves. He has all those things that a great runner possesses.
2nd and 12 for Rock. Will throw out of the end zone over the middle, a little behind Peterson that time, who couldn't make the grab. Urlacher with the coverage. 3rd down and 12 now.
This is where the Bear defense really has to press. And when you get them down like this, you want to press them and keep them in this position, make them punt out of their own end zone without having the full 15 yards. If you're the Minnesota Vikings, your first goal is to pick up at least 4 yards to give your punter the 15 yards he needs in the snap.
Chester Taylor is in the game on 3rd and 12, and they're going to give it to him on a gamble, on a draw. It looked like for a moment he was going to get stopped in the end zone. He gets out to the 7. The crowd doesn't like, but he does give them, as John says, the room now to kick conventionally, as Kluwe will come in for already his 5th punt of the night.
Yeah, and that's one thing the Bears do well, is they do, block punts. And, in this situation, especially if you were less than 15 yards, you were probably going to get a punt block. Now with the 15 yards, I think you'll get a punt return.
So the graphic already 4 punt returns for touchdowns against Minnesota. Kluwe bangs one toward Hester, collects the ball at the 40-yard line, coming toward the Viking bench, and he gets around the corner and into Minnesota territory, and then takes a hard spill out of bounds as they'll spot the ball at the Minnesota 46-yard line. 53-yard boot and a 15-yard return. 8:50 to go in the half. 7-3 Chicago. Miley Cyrus, Beyonce, the Jonas Brothers and others, Christmas in Rockefeller Center. You have the version of the Wildcat. This is Matt Forte. They actually call this their Cajun, since Forte is from Louisiana, and then they call it a cane when they do it with Devin Hester. All include snapping the ball to him, but that didn't fool anybody. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
I think that this Wildcat or Cajun, as they call it here, is starting to be defensed. I mean, I think everyone's ready for it. I mean, you see the Vikings there, they weren't fooled by it. There was nothing that they weren't ready for. In fact, big Pat Williams, the nose tackle, got penetration and got the play stopped before it even got started.
Quick snap. Forte this time conventionally carries straight ahead of the 44-yard line, and that's Pat Williams. Little 6'3", 317 pounds of him making the tackle.
And this is the thing, it's, you have to get movement in the middle if you're going to run. And if you don't get big Pat Williams blocked in there, I'll guarantee you're not going to run inside. You may go outside, but you're not going to go inside. He told me the other day he has no respect at all for Matt Forte. He said, what do you think? I'm going to worry about some rookie? There is no way.
At Williams wall, a collective 628 pounds. 3rd and 9. And you've got an offside here, so Orton's going to get slammed to the turf, but Ray Edwards came across the line and drew the immediate flag, and Kevin Williams can do all of the celebrating he wants, but you have offside.
Number 91 defense. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
We talk about the snap count and how tough it is for the visiting team here. And then when you get a defensive end like Edwards there that gets a jump on you, there's no way, if you're John Tate, that you have a chance.
A couple of Purdue guys renewing acquaintances as Edwards that time was jumping across the line, and then Kevin Williams got there for what he thought was the sack. It turned out to simply be an offside, setting up a 3rd down and 4.
I'll tell you, this is one of those rival games that have been going on for so long, and they always have one thing in common, and that's big and good hitting.
Inside handoff out of the gun, and then slipping before he can get out of the backfield that time is Forte, and Kevin Williams is able to stop him.
There's nothing there, but they keep trying there, don't they?
Yeah.
You say you have that Williams wall in there, and you're not going to get movement, and maybe they tried to get him on a pass rush or a different type of defense, but it's tough to run inside.
Flag thrown in the secondary, back down to the 31-yard line.
After the play was over, personal foul, blow to the head, number 22 of the defense. 15-yard penalty, 1st down.
Oh boy, Benny Sapp. So instead of a punt, Benny Sapp trying to get as small as he can on that bench.
Right there, that's it. Yep. You know, you talk about rival games. You know, they play it twice, and you know, there's no place for that. I mean, you want them emotional, you want them to play hard, you want to, you know, do all those things, but you don't want to carry it over to the point where it becomes stupidity.
Benny Sapp, who feels like one now.
Yeah, he could have been ejected for that one.
Oh yeah, right on the verge. Ball at the 27, first down. Forte swinging to the outside. First down and more, and gets knocked out of bounds at about the 2 by Madeu Williams. So from having to punt because of the personal foul, they now have a first and goal on a 26-yard run.
Josh Beekman, the left guard, is going to pull and make a good block here. Watch the left guard, boom, right there. See the back comes up, and he's gonna go in low. Then they get the soft corner. Forte gets that. Watch the dive here at the end. Go ahead and dive and get that thing in there. 74. Number 74, Chris Williams is in for the first time this year in on goal line, the #1 draft choice.
Play fake on first down. Van Orton will throw that one out of the end zone because the coverage is there as Greg Olson drew a crowd in the form of double coverage. It'll be second down and goal. Here is Williams. Williams, their #1 pick, and of course that meant Forte. You think about Forte and the year he's having, and people go, well, they must have picked him #1. No, Williams was picked first, and then Forte went in the second round.
And Chris Williams is just getting healthy now, and like I said, they have him here in goal line, and he's played a little in the last couple games, but this is the first time that he's played in a game in the NFL on the goal line.
That's their first charge.
Bears take a timeout with 6:08 to go over things on second down and goal. We talked about Forte. When you combine carries and receptions, leading the league in touches, you go back since 1950, the rookies who led the league in that category, and that's a pretty stellar list. That one fumble came last week, and he hasn't dropped an on-target pass this season. So Forte played his college ball, spent 4 years at Tulane, a Louisiana kid who grew up across the causeway in Slidell, Louisiana, stayed at home, and now Chicago thinking that they've got a running back for the next 8 or 9 years, they hope.
Right, and all those things that you talk about that he can do are very impressive, and Ron Turner says maybe the most impressive is how bright the guy is. He's never acted or seemed like a rookie at all, and he doesn't make mistakes. He said if there's anything that would really get him and really upset him, even more than a fumble, is making a mistake. You know, the wrong assignment.
Second and goal, and here goes Forte trying to get into the end zone, and he did not. Shy of the goal line, setting up a third down and goal.
You know, this is the thing we talk about, the Williams wall in there and the big guys inside. What it does is it forces you to get a little more outside. If you're going to get some successful running, it's in the area where Matt Forte just ran those last 2 plays.
And now you got Jason Davis, who was activated for the game, and he gets stopped. So they try to go to Davis in his first carry, second-year guy out of Illinois, because of the injury to Jason McKee. They put him in, and he can't get in, and it's 4th and goal.
Yeah, I mean, this is the toughest thing about this Viking defense, is getting anything inside. I don't know exactly what's going to go, but I know what's not going to go. And that's the fullback running in there without a lead that we just saw.
4th and goal. And behind a lot of leverage, Forte cannot get in. Jared Allen that time made the tackle. And Sapp feels like he just got a get out of jail card for free.
Right, and that's what you get from a guy who has one of those motors that goes 110 miles an hour. Here he is. He's on the outside. He comes all the way from the outside, flattens out, closes down, and gets a runner from behind. Flatten out right down the line and make the dive for the play like that on Matt Forte. That's a great play by Jared Allen. But I'll tell you, Pat Williams was pretty sturdy in there too. I mean, you get down there, you know, and that's one of the things you say, this run defense, where are they really good? When you're trying to get in their end zone.
Now Farrat tries to give him some breathing room, and he's going to take a shot deep downfield, and open is Bernard Berrien, and the former Bear will go 99 yards for a touchdown. Wow. Talk about turning on a dime. Unbelievable.
Farrat recovered from that knockout blow, didn't he?
I'll say. 99 yards, and of course, you can't have a longer play from scrimmage, so that ties an NFL record, obviously.
Pat Williams said, I had something to do with that. We stopped him on the goal line and made this play possible. Whoa.
Yeah, right. Longwell for the point after. Well, Benny Sapp can always say he helped set up a play that tied the NFL record for the longest play from scrimmage.
Look at this. This is going to be Charles Tillman on Bernard Berrien, and they're right here, down here. And it looks like Tillman looks inside and starts to come off on the inside receiver, which he does, thinking that he has a safety out there. I think he was supposed to stay with Berrien. And he looked inside. I don't know if there was a pump inside or not, but he left his man, went to the next guy in, and then Gus Farrat hit Bernard Berrien. Watch his throw. I mean, it's good pass protection, gave him time, and the quarterback has to see this too. The corner left him. He left him wide open. You got Pat Williams and Jared Allen. They're the two guys that made the stop down there in the goal line. And if we did that, you got to do this.
And Berrien and Tillman are two guys who'd be so familiar with each other, having faced each other in practice for the last few years.
Right, and Tillman has been lining up on Berrien. That was going to be their matchup all night, is Tillman on Berrien.
That's the 11th 99-yard touchdown pass in the history of the NFL. There's been one 99-yard run. That was Tony Dorsett, and he did it in this building. Longwell, the 6-yard line. Hester runs it back to the 29. I remember when Dorsett had that run, Don Meredith said that's 99 yards and a half.
Right, and that's 99 yards a bomb right there. When you get back in the end zone and heave that long one, that's football.
10-7 Minnesota in a game to determine the leader in the NFC North after tonight. Now Orton, who's 4 of 12 for 96 yards. One of those, the 65-yard bomb to Hester, goes to Forte. They line him up outside, and Forte out to the 38-yard line, just short of the first down. A little contact sheet here as you take a look at the Williams wall and their buddies, including Jared Allen.
Good-looking group, huh?
Yeah.
Jared Allen, call him a loose wire. Pat Williams calls himself a loose wire. Ask Pat Williams, who's a looser wire, you or Allen? He said me.
Davis drops the pass on a 2nd and 1. It'll be 3rd and 1. It's good to be a loose wire.
Well, I think defensive players have to have a little of that in them. You know, that you ask them, what they do and what they keep. I just line up there and smack the guy in front of me. Take out all my frustrations. I said, what frustrations do you have to Pat Williams? He said, I have 2 daughters, one a junior in high school and one a senior in high school. That's my frustration. And I don't let them date.
3rd and 1. Forte will pick up the first down out to the 41-yard line.
Yeah, he said that, that he won't let him date. He said if any guy comes to his house, he said he better come there with money to buy the house. Or he said the other thing he can do is bring $50,000. He said if he gives me $50,000 cash and gives me back all the money I spent for cars and clothes on those girls, then they can come to my house and date him. And until they buy my house or give me $50,000 cash, there's no way those girls are going to date.
Started his career at Buffalo, already his 12th season in the league, and Orton has that one knocked down at the line of scrimmage. Boy, you come to Pat Williams' house to date one of his daughters, you better be a confident kid.
No, you wouldn't. I mean, you wouldn't even try.
That was Pat who batted that pass down.
Yeah, and he's making his presence felt here, isn't he? And just on the goal line, that last stand, and right now, this is what they do. You know, you say, well, they're not much pass rushers, but they take away that three-step drop. Because if you take a three-step short drop, they're going to be right in your face on that third step and get their hands up.
2nd and 10. The Bears have their own Adrian Peterson in the backfield. And this is Peterson carrying out to the 46-yard line. And that's Pat Williams again in on the tackle as we tick down to the 3-minute mark remaining in the opening half.
Yeah, if you like defense and you like hitting and you like line play, you're going to like this one.
3rd and 5 now at the 46-yard line.
The Vikings decide this is not going to be a running down, going to be a passing down for the Bears, so they don't need Pat Williams in the middle there.
Hester in the slot to the right, and the tight end Olsen split to the right. Orton will go to the left side this time, and that pass is incomplete. Adrian Peterson unable to handle it. Chad Greenway, the linebacker, with the coverage, and it's 4th down for Chicago.
Yeah, that's a matchup that you're always looking for, is to get your running back in the open field against the linebacker. That was a perfect throw. Adrian Peterson just drops it. It wasn't terrible coverage by Chad Greenway.
Now Maynard to punt, and Bernard Berrien is back to run the punt back, standing at the 10-yard line. Maynard's 5th punt of the night and the 10th punt overall in the game is an angled boot that will go out of bounds, and they will line it up and place the ball somewhere around the 14-yard line. Sunday Night Football brought to you by Ford. Drive 1 by Wanted on DVD and Blu-ray High Def Tuesday. By Wendy's, it's way better than fast food. It's Wendy's. And by Bud Light, the difference is drinkability. Steve Hutchinson, the guard for Minnesota, hosting a dinner at a local hospital over the Thanksgiving period. Good guy, came from Seattle. That was a situation where Mike Holmgren wanted him to stay desperately, and it got messed up, and away he went to Minnesota.
And away the Seattle offense went.
It did. From the 14-yard line, here is Peterson, and he'll get 1. And it will be 2nd down and 9 up at the 15-yard line, and the Bears are going to take a timeout here. Carl Eller talking about the defensive line and how great it is in Minnesota. Of course, you go back to Eller and his gang, and of course Carl went into the Hall of Fame back in '04.
Alan Page, Jim Marshall, those guys were tough. I remember we're playing them once, and I called a play to run to the left away from Carl Eller, and they ran it right into him, and he stuffed us on the goal line the way the Vikings just did to the Bears.
Chuck Foreman, Scott Studwell, a couple of former Vikings. Talking about Eller and the Purple People Eaters in those years under Bud Grant, and tonight you've got a lot of ex-Vikings here because John Randall will be inducted to the Ring of Honor. Randall is here tonight.
John Randall was something, we're talking about defensive linemen kind of being loose wires or maybe half goofy. John Randall fit that.
Now Peterson's going to get taken down at the 17, and the Chicago Bears will take another timeout. That is their final timeout, and of course the clock will also stop at the 2-minute warning as they try to conserve some time and take over what they hope will be a final drive here in the first half after a punt. There is he's talking about loose wires.
Yeah,
John Randall.
He used to paint his face, but he was a heck of a pass rusher. There was like in 8 years, he had 8 straight years. I think it was he had double-digit sacks, and that's for a defensive tackle. And most of those sacks come from defensive ends or linebackers and 3-man lines. But John Randall as a pass rusher was something special.
Only other guy to do that, John, would have been Reggie White, so you can appreciate the company that he is in.
And Reggie White, was outside a little. I mean, he
Right.
was more of a defensive end, and John Randall from the inside. You talk about a guy who would raise havoc. He was the guy.
3rd and 7. Chester Taylor in the backfield for Rock to take the snap out of the gun. Throws, caught, and that's going to be enough for a first down because Urlacher can't tackle Taylor until he's able to move the chain. So Chicago took all of their timeouts, and now Minnesota winds up with a first down, and they can control it for the rest of the half. Because we come to the 2-minute warning, they have a 1st and 10, and they have 2 timeouts before the half. 2-minute warning here in Minneapolis, where the Vikings lead the Bears in the battle for first in the NFC North, 10-7. Standing by for the Toyota halftime show. Mentioned earlier, one of the things they'll talk about, road teams 10-1 this afternoon. Right now the home team has the lead here, 10-7, first down at the 25-yard line. And this is Peterson taking the inside handoff, and they can't bring him down by his shirt, and he keeps fighting and fighting, and he gets 16 yards. Going over Mike Brown. First down up at the 41-yard line, and Minnesota is going to stop the clock.
Adrian Peterson has never met a run that he didn't like. And there's no way that he's going to give up on it. Here it is, they get in shotgun, run him on a draw, and he starts with supposed to be a trap to the left, draw trap to the left. He left that, goes back to the right, and watch how he just not only keeps his feet going and driving and shoulder down, but he's making moves. He's making jump cuts. He's jumping up in the air, and then at the end, there's just no way that he's going to go down until he's given you everything he has on that run.
Timeout for the Vikings here. They have 1 left. Peterson now with 100 yards, 59 of them on that 1 gallop. He came into the weekend trailing only Clinton Portis in rushing in the league, and right now he has the lead.
Yeah, the thing that was big about getting that first down is the Vikings didn't have to punt to Devin Hester.
4th time in his brief career he's at 100 yards in the first half. Farad gets it out quickly, and that's caught by Bobby Wade. He takes the ball into Chicago territory at the 44-yard line, and that's a first down for the Vikings.
So I was talking about Farad having a live arm, quick release and a live arm. That's exactly what I saw in practice the other day, is just coming back and getting rid of the ball quickly, just like that last play. Of course, he got a lot of confidence when he threw that deep one to Bernard Berrien.
With 1:20 to play, this is Berrien, and Berrien steps inside and gets dragged down from behind, and that does draw the flag as Charles Tillman dragged him down on the horse collar, and that will tack on some more yardage.
Personal foul, horse collar tackle, number 33 defense. 15-yard penalty, first down.
7-yard gain plus 15 on the foul.
There's been a long half for Charles Tillman. Here it's just a little hitch. He comes up, Berrien makes a good move, gets by him, and then Tillman goes for the horse collar. And again, yeah, I mean, that's a horse collar's horse collar.
Yes. Roy Williams would even admit
he'd
that.
be proud of that one.
Very proud of that one.
That can be the poster for horse collar.
It's a full Clydesdale. First and 10 of the 21. Farad over the middle, caught, touchdown, Jim Kleinsasser. 21 yards to the tight end, Jim Kleinsasser, H-back, fullback, tight end, 10th year in the league, and then he goes for the score.
And again, they've been hitting those wide receivers, getting it out there. Then you get Kleinsasser in there, and you think, oh, he's just a tackle. They're not going to throw it to him. And they throw it right down the seam to him. It was a cover 2. He gets by the linebacker in front of the safety, and you run the outside receiver deep to keep that other corner out there.
Hillenmeyer, the linebacker, Payne, the safety, and in they go from 21.
Well, I'll tell you, after Gus Frerotte got that late hit by Agunlia, he's really changed. That kind of woke him up a little.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the booth upstairs, there are no coaches' challenges. Last 2 minutes, they want to take a look and make sure that he got into the end zone, so they buzz down, and they'll take a look to see if he crossed the goal line.
Lovie Smith looks like he's in shock. His elbow's down there.
Yeah, they may spot it just outside the goal line. Well, Lovie should be in shock because what a nightmare the last few minutes have been. They think they're going in to take a 14-3 lead. They get stopped at the goal line. Then you got a 99-yard pass. Then you're trying to use your timeouts on defense to leave yourself some time. And Minnesota converts on a 3rd and 7. That was a huge play to Chester Taylor. And then Minnesota winds up using the clock. And not only using the clock, but going all the way down for what they hope will be either a touchdown here or a touchdown on the next play or two.
Like you say, that third down completion I thought was big because they were going to have to punt, and they would have had bad field position or would have been good field position for the Bears. And, you know, with Devin Hester back there, that can be very, very interesting.
Ruling on the field was a touchdown, so what Levy has to see, obviously, is something conclusive. Here he comes.
After reviewing the play, the runner was down with the ball at the 1/4-yard line. It is not a touchdown. We will wind the clock after we spotted the ball.
Let me get this straight now. That would be the 9-inch line.
Yeah.
Even Klein Saucer's laughing about it.
What does a guy have to do to get a touchdown? They put the ball on the 1/4-yard line. I don't know. I mean, you can see where the ball is when his elbow goes down. And I guess that's the 1/4-yard line.
There it is, 9-inch nails right there. 1st and goal.
I've seen games where the center has gone up. And, you know, Matt Burke, the center here, is from Harvard. And I've seen when he's been this close, the center goes up, picks up the ball, and puts it in the end zone. Because they let the center move it now.
Especially if you're from Harvard.
That's why he makes all the line calls.
There's Frerotte from Tulsa. Did he get in? There's no signal yet. Looked like he had enough. He looked like he got at least 9 inches, and he did. And Frerotte with the spike.
It's a man spike.
Yeah. He says that one's for Klein Saucer.
You know, where do you think he'd go? We're talking about Matt Burke and Steve Hutchinson on the left side. Right here, Steve Hutchinson. If you're going to run a quarterback sneak, that's the place to go. Right between Matt Burke and Steve Hutchinson.
So Frerotte, who gets hit, is down on the turf. Looks like he might be out for the game and maybe even the season. Winds up tying an NFL record with a 99-yard touchdown pass and scoring his first rushing touchdown in 7 years. Apart from that, it hasn't been a very eventful quarter for Gus Frerotte. Extra point is good, and Minnesota leads 17-7.
You know where this thing started was on the goal line when the Bears were going in, and they had the pass play there, then they had to run. They tried to get to the outside, and they just handed it to the fullback where that play had no chance. Then you say, should they have kicked the field goal? No, they go for it again, and the Vikings just stood up to it, and then that led up to this, and they get the ball back, and then the big one to Bernard Berrien. Charles Tillman looked to the inside, took the inside receiver. There's no way he was going to catch Berrien. So that was what you call a flip-flop.
Big time. And Alex Brown on his hands and knees along the Chicago sideline. Remember, they're already minus the starting tackle, Dusty Dvorak, and now Brown is down. Urlacher seething. Well, the Chicago defense should, as Minnesota is able to convert on that 3rd and 7 and then march it down quickly. Danielle Manning to run the kickback. That's what Chicago needs right now. They don't have a timeout. They need a good run back from the yard into the end zone. Coverage is good this time. stopped at the 20-yard line with 44 ticks. Hussein Abdullah makes the stop.
But it shows you how, linemen can make a big difference, and what that Viking defensive line did, and what the Viking offensive line does. And if you give Gus Frerotte protection, he can still make you pay.
This is Forte, and Forte's going to lose the ball at the 29-yard line. Remember, only one fumble all season, that coming last week, but Chicago able to pounce on it at the 29. No timeouts, so the Bears right now in no hurry to get the playoff, and they're just going to let the half expire. And they can't wait for this half to end soon enough, because the last 5 minutes were a total nightmare for them. So the Minnesota Vikings on the cusp of trailing by 11 with less than 5 minutes to play in the half go to the locker room up by 10. Go figure. Toyota halftime show from New York. Bob and the gang coming up on the other side of the break. The end zone. Daniel Manning coming back with it. With a run back out to the 29-yard line, and we'll check in with Andrea Kramer.
Well, Al, Lovie Smith, the eternal optimist, as for that potential 14-point swing at the end of the half, he said there are two halves of football. As far as he's concerned, they dominated the first half, and they did a lot of good things. Now, as for Brad Childress, he said to sustain drives, they need at least 4 yards on first down. But let me tell you, he was still hot about what he said was a late hit on Gus Frerotte. He said, we've been hit by a bunch of them. Why don't they just call the darn penalty on someone else?
Well, his team up by 10. They have outgained Chicago 287 to 165. Orton's throw is caught, and that's a 9-yard gain, and the ball almost came loose, but Desmond Clark is able to hang on to it to set up a 2nd down and 1 at the 37-yard line.
I think Lovie Smith was partly right about the Bears playing well in the first half, but the part that he wasn't right was at the end of the first half. I mean, the last part of the first half, the Bears did not play well.
2nd and 1. Forte will pick up enough for a first down. Move the chains out to the 39-yard line. 1st and 10 for Chicago. The luckiest guy in the building, of course, is Benny Sapp. We talked about that tremendous, unbelievable turnaround as Chicago goes no huddle, but it was Sapp with a personal foul call that looked like it was going to lead to an 11-point deficit.
And he ought to thank Jaron Allen and Pat Williams and those guys.
And Frerotte and Berrien, and Rasheed Davis couldn't hang on. He'd gotten out in front, he'd gotten behind Antoine Winfield, and he couldn't hang on down the sideline. Incomplete in 2nd and 10.
Yeah, that's what Ron Turner, the offensive coordinator of the Bears, loves to do this. This is a situation when you get a good field position and you have first down, you take a shot. And they had the right coverage, they had man coverage, they caught him in a blitz, he got the ball off, and Berrien just couldn't handle it. I mean, Rasheed Davis, what am I talking about?
Davis is 2nd down and 10. The ball is at the 39-yard line. Quick drop, and the pass is incomplete, a little bit underthrown, and reaching for it, intended for Devin Hester, and getting the hand on it as Antoine Winfield has been involved in both plays in this series. 3rd down and 10.
You're right, and Hester had him there. And if Orton gets it out there, this is going to be a big play. Watch, he gets by Winfield right there, right now. Give him the ball, and the ball was a little short. Although I don't know if Hester was really ready for it, because it looks like it hits him in the back arm, and he's not ready to catch it.
Winfield just got a fingertip on it. 3rd down and 10 out of the gun from the 39. Pressure. Orton gets hit as he throws, but he gets it over the middle and completes it to Rasheed Davis. Chad Greenway came in and buried Orton, but he hung in, slung it over the middle, and it's a 17-yard gain on a 3rd and 10.
Yeah, Chad Greenway is the linebacker coming from the outside, and he comes unblocked. I mean, you see him, he starts in the middle, comes from the outside, is unblocked, and he puts a hit on Orton just as he throws the ball. Ooh.
First down, Chicago at the Vikings 44.
Oops.
And a false start here. That was Fred Evans coming across the middle.
Encroachment, number 90 defense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
No, that umpire came in and looked like he was signaling a false start. Levy says no, and that's why Brad Childress has that look on his face. Going, one guy signaling a false start, now you're telling me it's offside?
And you have to see why Fred Evans did jump. Again, all they have to do is watch the ball there. Nope, that ball didn't move. Nope. That was on defense. That was the right call.
Yeah, but Childress was arguing the fact that one of the officials came in initially and said false start. So it's first down and 5 now. At
right,
39.
Yeah, right call, wrong signal.
Right. Forte to the 37-yard line. 16 carries tonight for the Tulane rookie for 67 yards.
Now they get Pat Williams back in there. They get the feeling that they're going to try and run it here, so they got to get their 2 run stoppers right in here side by side. There they are right there side by side.
Second and 2, Jason Davison at fullback. He'll try to lead the way with a block, and he can't make the block. He can't make the block because that was Medea Williams who came up. Davis went down. Williams was able to slow the play down, and it turns out to be a loss back to the 41-yard line, and a 3rd down and 7 now.
Great play by Medea Williams, and that's what you call force. I mean, one of the defensive backs on any sweeping play always has force. He has to come to the outside and force everything back to the inside. Medea Williams got the force, and he really had to jump on it. Now the Vikings are in nickel, 5 defensive backs.
3rd and 7. Blitz. Sack. Jared Allen's the first guy in there, and then everybody else comes in to clean up.
Hey, Jared Allen is really showing his speed today. I mean, we see him get to plays when he goes around John St. Clair. We see him get to plays when he goes inside. Here he just uses his speed, goes right around St. Clair and gets to Orton. And we talk about the 2 inside defensive linemen, but I'll tell you tonight, Jared Allen is having a big game.
Maynard's punt. High floater. Fair catch signal. Bernard Berrien hauls it in at the 11-yard line. Allen having a big game again. 10:53 remaining in the 3rd. Already in triple figures in the first half. 14 rushes, 100 yards.
Hey, he's something special to watch, isn't he? I mean, you talk about a running back and finishing runs. He's great at it. Moves, he has super moves. Power, strength, speed. I mean, this guy shows it all. I mean, look at this one run. He gets a handoff, has a quickness, has a speed, has a move, even had a jump cut in there.
Here he is again. Cuts it back. And picks up a couple as he finally gets tackled by Corey Graham. Lance Briggs was able to force him to the inside. It'll be 2nd down and 7.
Lance Briggs was saying last night that the thing that sets him apart, Peterson, is he has the injury here, but is his speed. He says you think he's one place, you go to tackle him, and he's 3 yards away from you.
So Peterson will go to the bench, or at least try to walk it off along the sideline. That puts Chester Taylor into the game. Taylor stays in the block, and they swing it to the outside to Tahi, the fullback. And it will be 3rd down. Let's go back and check out Peterson on the replay.
You see, he makes the cut, and right as he's going down, he's hit right there. I don't know. I mean, I don't see anything there, but and when a guy plants and cuts and does all these things that he does, he's susceptible to some twisted ankles and stuff. Because he makes you twist your ankle and try and tackle him by doing it to you.
Maybe a shoulder to the thigh as Farrat throws on third down. Into double coverage is deflected and picked off by Kevin Payne. And Payne looking for blocking. Gets inside the 20. Payne inside the 10. Inside the 5. And he backpedals but steps out of bounds along the sideline. Sidney Rice was the intended receiver. And the pass was deflected and then run all the way back to the 4-yard line in the 1st and goal.
That's why you keep those safeties deep there, so that no one can get behind them. They keep everything in front of them, and if a ball is ever tipped or bounced, they're right there to get it. And that's exactly what Payne is. He's covering the ball. He sees the ball in the air. He goes over there, stays behind it, isn't going to let anything get behind him, and then comes up with a tip.
Tipped by Danielle Manning, picked by Payne. Now Chicago, 1st and goal.
I guarantee you they're not going to hand it to the fullback up the middle.
No, instead it's Forte. And he'll go up the middle into the Williams wall. Pat Williams makes the tackle, 2nd down and goal from the 2. 21 straight games now for the Chicago Bears, who thrive on takeaways, 21 in a row for them.
And this is big here. I mean, the Bears have to remember what happened the last time they were down here. The Vikings have to be thinking of what they did to them the last time. And I wouldn't be surprised if this play were a play-action pass. I wouldn't have been surprised if they did it on 1st down, but they really have trouble pounding it in there in the run. Now it has to be a pass.
They split Forte to the left. They enter the backfield, and the pass to Forte is caught for a touchdown. They got him one-on-one and isolated him with the outside linebacker, Chad Greenway, as they broke the formation, got him against the linebacker, and in they go for the touchdown.
Yeah, and that's the thing that Matt Forte can do. There was one back in the backfield. He's going to go in motion. He starts here. He goes in motion out to the left. He's going to be man-to-man on Greenway. Now, that's what you look for. Just that thing, he just runs a little fade. Fake to the inside, and then just throw it over his outside shoulder.
Griffin was the cornerback on that side, and you saw him signal to Greenway to go get him, go take him, and he couldn't. Extra point is good, so the interception, and then the touchdown by Forte on the pass, and the Chicago Bears trim the Vikings lead to 3 with 8:53 to go in the 3rd. Stars lighten up the Christmas tree in Rockefeller Center, including Faith Hill, Miley Cyrus, Beyonce, the Jonas Brothers, and others. Wednesday, 8 Eastern and Pacific, right here on NBC. Darius Reynaud, the rookie, will break one past the 40, goes right by Gold, and gets taken down finally in Chicago territory by Garrett Wolf after a 48-yard return. Vikings will start with a short field. Just when you think you have them, you don't.
This is Sunday night.
Darius Reynaud with that run back, giving the Vikings good field position to start this drive at the 46-yard line. Adrian Peterson is fine. He's back in the game. He collects the pass, and Urlacher is right there, smelling it out beautifully, sniffing it, and then able to penetrate and make the tackle.
And that's a big thing. And Brian Urlacher is one of those guys that, has speed and goes sideline to sideline. But once he gets there, he's a good tackler, because that's a big thing. I mean, they have a screen. They have it all set up. There's only one Bear defender out there, and if he doesn't make that play, that could have been a 10-yard gain.
Instead of 2-yard loss, 2nd down and 12, the ball at the 48-yard line. AP inside the 45. Down he goes at the 41-yard line. Gain of 7. It'll be 3rd down and 5.
Yeah, I think that was the play Lance Briggs was talking about. He said that you don't know how fast he is, and sometimes you go to tackle him and you miss him like 3 yards. Briggs just missed him by 3 yards on that last play. In fact, they were blitzing right into the side that Adrian Peterson ran.
Peterson out, as is normally the case on 3rd down. Chester Taylor is in. Rolling right is Farad and has that pass tipped. Bears very adept at that. Adewale Ogunleye with the tip, forcing the incompletion, setting up a 4th down and a punt.
He has done a pretty good job in the offensive line of the Vikings is Ryan Cook. Artis Hicks started in his place last week, hurt his triceps, and Cook had been benched, hadn't been playing well, but he had to start tonight because Hicks is hurt, and he's been playing well.
Hester back. Chris Kluwe to kick. Angle kick, bouncing inside the 10, and he can't get a break. That's 3 times Kluwe has almost pinned them very deep, and each time it's gone into the end zone. Once on a challenge. Out to the 20 they come. Chicago down by 3. You see, from the 20. Bears begin this drive down by 3. Halfway through the period. Play fake, pump fake. And the pass intercepted at the 46 by Darren Sharper. And Darren Sharper, who's intercepted a bunch in a 12-year career, brings it back to the 35-yard line. 54 career interceptions for Darren Sharper.
Yeah, and Darren Sharper is playing the safety position, and he's playing a cover 2. And you just see him back there deep. And he starts to go to that side. See the play action pass? You see the 2 deep safeties? Now that's his play. When the ball goes deep, he has to get over there. See, he gets by the corner. That's a cover 2 corner. He's going to be the short guy. Sharper's going to be the deep guy. Orton had to read that because you could see cover 2 the whole way.
Sharp's first pick of the season, ending a long streak by Orton without an interception. Gain of 5. Orton had thrown 205 consecutive passes without an interception, a Chicago Bear record, and he's going over the pictures right now.
You knew that there wasn't going to be something good at the end of this because the Bears have never scored a point. Haven't scored a point all year when they started out on their own 20-yard line. And they started out on the 20-yard line in that drive. I don't know what's going to happen, but I have a pretty good idea what's not going to happen.
Didn't take long. 2nd and 5. As Peterson picks up maybe a yard. They'll spot it at the 29-yard line. And upcoming will be a 3rd down and 4. And in comes Chester Taylor, and out goes Peterson.
And what Sharper's talking about is I just sat back there in cover 2 and read the quarterback, and I'm surprised that Kyle Orton didn't read the same thing. Now, you know, his receiver gets by the corner, but that safety is just sitting on that side. He has a deep half of that side of the field.
3rd and 4 shotgun. Bears have 8 guys up on the line. Here they come. Heavy blitz. Farrat's able to get it away, and that will be a 1st down. That's Sidney Rice on the outside. So with everybody coming, Farrat, quick drop, quick pass, 1st down.
You know, and Farrat said this the other day that they're going to get up there, they're going to press the line of scrimmage, they're going to blitz me, and I am going to have to throw to the outside receivers. That's exactly what he does. I mean, there's no way that you can run to the inside. There's no way you're going to have a long time to pass. You have to get rid of the ball quickly, but you have to challenge it. You can't let them just make you run into them.
Peterson back in. He's going to cut it back. He's going to try to get to the outside. Heavy contact, and down he goes. Graham is the first guy there, and then he gets knocked down at the end of the play by Lance Briggs.
You know, I was talking about Brad Childress saying how violently that Adrian Peterson runs. Now that's a stiff arm. I mean, when you take that left hand, you just darn near knock a guy out with it. Boom! You know, get the heck out of here. Yeah, I mean, he does. You know, I mean, I think there's a word above running hard, and that's what Adrian Peterson does.
Sunday, bloody Sunday. Just look at the 2 on it. Look at the 8 as well.
How do you get like that in an indoor arena?
2nd and 10.
Carpet.
You need a cut man on the other side. And this is Taylor running to the end zone for a touchdown. So on a 2nd and 10, out goes Peterson. In comes Chester Taylor.
Every time you get a run like that, you're going to have a good block by an offensive lineman. Watch Steve Hutchinson, the left guard, right here. Watch the block that he makes on Brian Urlacher. He gets on Urlacher and keeps him away, from getting into pursuit and down the line. Good block by Kleinsicer also. Good running by Chester Taylor.
Rhodes, the outside linebacker, gets taken out of the play as well. Longwell for the extra point. So the pick leads to 6 plus the extra point and a 10-point lead. 24-14, cashing in on the turnover by Chicago. The interception by Sharper. Taylor goes in for the touchdown on a 21-yard romp. And in the battle for first place, the Vikings up again by 10. Longwell to Danielle Manning at the 2. Hammered at the 18-yard line. Benny Churchu, a 6th-year linebacker out of Boston College, knocking him down. Sunday Night Football brought to you by The Dark Knight on Blu-ray and DVD. December the 9th by Citizen Echo Drive, fueled by light that never needs a battery. By Turbo HD, by Dish Network, and by Toyota and the line of scrimmage. Better than any microwave. From the 18-yard line on first down, this is Matt Forte going nowhere. Gobbled up by the purple shirts. It'll be 2nd down and 9.
I know that they've taken Devin Hester off the kickoff return, but I think in a game like this, I think I'd put him back there. I mean, he's a threat, and you say, well, maybe he's not doing as well on kickoff returns, but he gets in the head of kickers and kicking teams, and they do so many goofy things, and they start on the 40. Without him, these kicking teams have a lot of confidence, and they just kick the ball deep, and then the Bears start off inside their own 20.
Which is not a good place, as you mentioned before, for them to start on 2nd down. And this is Hester going nowhere. He gets blanketed by Winfield, and that will set up a 3rd down and 6 for Chicago.
Yeah, because I know, in talking to other teams that play the Bears, they worry all week about kicking off to Hester and where they're going to kick to him, and how they're going to kick. You squib kick, you kick, here or there, and all that. And I think it's a mistake not having him back there.
3rd and 7. Orton steps away from the pressure, and then the pass is incomplete. Threw it behind Olsen, and that's Winfield again in on the action, and it's 4th down. A very fast 3-and-out for Chicago.
And this Viking defensive line is really putting the pressure on Orton, and because their defensive line can handle everything up there, they don't have to get that 8th man down in the box, so they can play a lot of cover 2. So they're making him throw into deep zones and stuff because of guys like Jared Allen, the way they're rushing, and Pat Williams, the way he's handling the run inside.
Maynard averaging 40 yards a boot tonight. Punt number 7 is a short kick, very short, and it's going to set Minnesota up near midfield as it bounds out of bounds in front of the Chicago bench. They will spot it on the 50. 3 minutes to play in the 3rd. Remaining schedules now for the teams in contention in this division. The Bears will go home for 3 in a row against Jacksonville, New Orleans, and Green Bay, and then end at Houston. The Vikings play the next 2 weeks on the road at Detroit and at Arizona, and then end the season here against Atlanta and the Giants. And there are the Packers. Houston at home, at Jacksonville, then they go to Chicago. But Green Bay in a big hole after losing today to Carolina 35-31. They'll trail the winner of this game by 2. To the outside, the pass is caught by Berrien, and Tillman is right there to make the tackle after a gain of a couple.
One thing that Tillman is really good at, and you see him try that at the end, is stripping the ball. I mean, he's one of the better strippers in all the NFL. In fact, this so to speak, yeah, this whole Bear defense is. I mean, that at the end of every tackle, they try and strip the ball out. So they're good strippers.
Yes, they are.
Looking for good strippers. Right. You know where to go.
2nd down and 6. Right to the Love Boat. This is Peterson carrying to the 43-yard line, and it will be 3rd down and 3.
You know, and sometimes
you got to have a little rascal in you, right? You know that.
You have to get rid of that stripping thing. But sometimes I think that affects their tackling. You know, that they get, they're so good at it, and it's such a big part of their defense. You know, getting turnovers, stripping the ball, getting it out, making them fumble, that sometimes they forget to tackle, I think.
Better remember here, it's 3rd down and 3. Chester Taylor is the back. Farrat avoids the sack. Going deep downfield and a little out of the reach of Shanko. Asante Shanko, former tight end with the Giants, 6th year in the league out of Morgan State, and it's 4th down.
Yeah, he was going to go short with that, and then he didn't have anyone out in the flat, so he bought a little time and tried to go deep.
Chris Cluey to punt. Hester is back. And the 14th punt of this game is fair caught at the 6-yard line. You know, I'm thinking right now, John, if the Vikings win the game and they're up by 10, I mean, Brad Childress has taken a lot of heat here. Last couple of years, started out 6-10, then he went to 8-8. Can't find a quarterback. You know, it's going to be Tavares Jackson, then it's Farrat. They win this game, they're not only in first place, they've won 6 of their last 8.
And the big thing is they're peaking right now. I mean, they're playing very well. I mean, Gus Farrat is doing what he has to do. You know that they have a good offensive line. You know they can run the ball, and their defense has as much confidence as any defense you'll see at this time of year.
This drive starts with Forte busting one right through the middle and then getting rolled down up at the 30-yard line by Medea Williams after a 25-yard run.
And the minute you say that, they break one right up the middle. But it's interesting that that they try and rotate defensive linemen, and I think when you get them backed up, I think you need all your guys in there. First down, they felt pretty comfortable. They don't have Kevin Williams in there, and then boom, they just hit him right where he would have been. And I'm not a big rotating guy of good players.
That puts Forte over 1,000 yards for the year on the ground, and now we'll add a few more as he receives this pass. Forte is the 4th Chicago rookie to rush for 1,000 yards. So you would think, well, of course, Walter Payton, Gale Sayers. Wrong. Beatty Feathers all the way back in the 30s. And then Rashaan Salam, who won the Heisman Trophy, did it as a rookie in '95, and Anthony A-Train Thomas in '01.
I think this guy is going to be around a lot longer than some of those guys are. I mean,
Yep.
I really think he has it all.
Just thinking the same thing. 2nd and 4. And the quarter will end on a 2-yard gain up to the 39-yard line. So that's the end of the 3rd quarter in the battle for first place in the NFC North. Minnesota 24, Chicago 14. And Sunday Night Football will resume right after these messages from your local NBC station.
Thursday, a new office with so many twists you wouldn't understand.
Why don't you explain this to me like I am an 8-year-old?
Seriously, you wouldn't.
Why don't you explain this to me like I'm 5?
The Office, plus the 30 Rock High School Reunion, Thursday on NBC.
Al Michaels, John Madden, Andrew Kramer. Back we come to the Metrodome. It's 3rd down and 2 as we start the 4th quarter. Chicago at its own 39. To the outside goes Orton, and the pass is incomplete. Intended for Rashid Davis, and Olsen was also in the territory. So they throw a flat pass out to the right on 3rd and 2, and now they'll have to punt again.
Yeah, you know, that was a follow-up in the pattern. Anytime you get 2 receivers in the same area, one of them went to the wrong place.
Maynard to punt. That's Berrien, who scored on that 99-yard reception in the first half. Back to receive. Bears wanted to keep Berrien, but it was a matter of money. Minnesota came up with the dough. He's going to let it bounce. One hops it at the 14-yard line and gets taken down immediately. Joey LaRocque making the tackle 14 seconds into the quarter. A little recap of the game. Through the pulse here is Devin Hester scored on a 65-yard touchdown reception. Adrian Peterson had 100 yards and a half alone, and then after a great goal line stand, that 99-yard pass to Berrien. Forte with 110 scrimmage yards and 1,000 yards for the season on the ground. And right now Minnesota has the ball at their own 14-yard line. Peterson up to the 15, gain of 1 for AP. Alex Brown makes the stop.
You see Agunlia here on the tight end and Shanko, and he just holds him, picks him up, stuffs him right there, waits for the ball to get to him, and makes everything go inside of him. Now lined up on Kleinsasser.
2nd and 9. Protection is good, but he's got to check it down to Peterson out on the flat, and that's a hard yard that he gains there. Ball will be spotted at the 16-yard line. Nick Roach makes the stop along with Graham. It'll be 3rd down and 8.
And when Gus Frerotte first signed, he was told that he could go home on Monday and Tuesday, and he was going to be the backup. So his family was up there in St. Louis, and they'd play on Sunday, and then he'd go home Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, come back Wednesday. And then after the second game, he became the starter, and he said, no more deal. You have to be here on Monday and Tuesday.
They brought him in as the backup, as insurance, as a part-time mentor to Tavares Jackson. And now it's his team on 3rd and 8. Underneath the Taylor, not enough for a first down. Stop at the 21-yard line by Tommy Harris, and the Vikings will punt.
I think one of the things that really helped Brad Childress make that decision was when he was talking to Tavares Jackson after a game. He said, I'm trying too hard to be perfect. And when he heard that, he said, you can't play quarterback that way. I mean, he gets a point. I mean, things happen so quickly. You get rushed. You just got to let the ball go, and perfect isn't something you can always try and be.
Clearly line drive kick, so Hester comes up to take it at the 44-yard line and then gets taken down. Hester angry with himself, thought he had an opportunity for a good run back after the line drive boot. David Herron makes the tackle. Chicago ball. Wants the crowd to get into it right now with Chicago ready to come up to the line of scrimmage at the 42-yard line.
I think if he had that much energy in him, I'd have him in the game.
Here's Hester on the end around to the 45-yard line. Tackled by Cedric Griffin.
If you had someone in your coach and you'd like to take home, it's this guy, Jared Allen. I mean, just watch the motor he has, 110 miles an hour, plays with speed, plays hard, tackles well, never quits, has everything. I mean, he has come very, very close to dominating this game. If I were the Bears, especially on 3rd down, I'd start chipping him.
2nd and 7. Intercepted at the 50-yard line. Ben Lieber. And he'll get taken down by Forte, and the ball comes loose, but it may have gone out of bounds. The officials have not whistled it dead yet. It will be recovered at the 6-yard line. It was Greg Olsen who created the strip on the other end. The question is now going to be, as Bill Levy comes in, was the ball out of bounds? And they're going to say at the moment that Roberto Garza comes up with the football. But Lieber had the interception, and now the question is, did the ball go out of bounds when he fumbled on the return?
See, here's the interception. Lieber just gets a good jump on that. And now you have to protect the ball. Hey, that was a heck of a play by Olsen.
That's a great play.
I mean, hustling to get down there to make that play.
That's John Tate is the guy who is able to backhand it back in. The ball has to be touched.
Minnesota's challenging the ruling on the field that the ball was never out of bounds.
So it's going to be challenged. Bill Levy will take a look, and we'll be back. We're back, and we're waiting for Bill Levy. This is an extremely interesting play. As we go back, here's the key right now. Tate comes over. The ball had not gone out of bounds yet, but when he swats the ball, he backhands it, and he's making a fabulous play here, but then the ball winds up out of bounds. There it is right there on the swat back. Now, if this is what Levy is seeing as well, the ball will be Minnesota's ball, and it will come back to the spot of the fumble. But Tate makes a fabulous play, but he just can't keep the ball in bounds.
The first part of the fabulous play was Greg Olsen catching Lieber from behind and hitting him and causing that fumble that made this all possible.
So Orton throws the pick. The question is right now, whose ball will it be? It will be Minnesota's ball if Levy rules that the ball was out of bounds when it was swatted back by Tate.
Right, and any time the ball is on the boundary, obviously, it is out of bounds. So if he saw that shot that we had frozen there, he will say it's Minnesota's ball.
So if Chicago wins the challenge, they'll have it at the 7, but if Minnesota wins the challenge, they will have it at, I think, about the 12-yard line is where the fumble occurred. Here comes Levy.
After reviewing the play, the ball hit the 22-yard line out of bounds. It will be Minnesota's ball. 1st and 10 at the 22. With the clock operator put 11:58 on the game clock. And Minnesota is not charged a timeout.
Here it is again. When he swats it back, that's the whole key to the play right here. Ball's out of bounds.
Yeah, and again, Tate made a great play to get over there to try and get that ball back in, but it just hit the line. And again, I thought the great play was Greg Olsen and the hit that he made. Of course, Lieber made a good play in intercepting the ball.
And here's Olsen again.
Right, Lieber's breaking away for the touchdown, and he doesn't feel. You know how they always have those backs say run it high and tight? The reason you carry the ball high and tight is so that can't happen to you. Ben Lieber was never taught high and tight.
So not only do they lose the challenge, but then the ball comes back to where the ball was fumbled. So even though it was saved at about the 10-yard line, or roughly the 10, it will come back to the 22
the ball was
where he
fumbled
fumbled.
Forward and out of bounds. It's brought back to the spot of the fumble.
As Levy just explains.
You know, it's something the Minnesota Viking defense, because their front 7 can hold up, they're able to play a lot of zone, and they're able to play a lot of cover too, and that's been a tough thing for the Bears to take advantage of.
So here's Peterson, and again he gets stopped, but then it takes an army to knock him down at the 21-yard line.
You know, and he has to have a heck of a lot of pain and bruises and contusions and everything the next day. I mean, the way there's not a lot of guys that play that way in this league. I know Jerome Bettis was saying before the game that as a runner, he reminds him of Walter Payton, and he does. I mean, Walter Payton was more of a complete back, and he's a receiver and blocker and all those things, but Walter Payton was also a very violent runner.
Out he comes, bloody jersey, dented helmet. And then through the middle goes Chester Taylor to the 14-yard line. And you can see how hard he runs. And the punishment that he not only dishes out but absorbs. Blood on his jersey, blood on his pants, scratches and dents all over the helmet.
You know, last Saturday morning he was late for a meeting, so he was benched for the first 2 series of the game, and that never made sense to me. I mean, guy's late for a meeting and he's your best player. Why you don't let him play? You know, there's some guys you hold the bus for. You hold the bus for Adrian Peterson.
3rd and 2. You might be holding it for Chester Taylor as well as he takes it to the 5-yard line. Stopped by Alex Brown. First and goal.
Oh no, that's a 1-2 punch. I mean, that's the thing. Adrian Peterson is a running back. He's the guy, but when he's not, you bring in Chester Taylor. He's going to make some big plays for you. Not only as a runner, but he's also a good blocker and he's a good receiver. So usually in passing situations, they like to have Chester Taylor in there.
Under 10 to play. Briggs came up to fill the gap. And Taylor will get taken down. Payne is able to wrap him up inside the 2-yard line. Second down and goal upcoming.
Yeah, that was the thing that Adrian Peterson said that he liked about this defense is they kind of mug the line of scrimmage, the linebackers do. You see them all up in there tight, but if you find a crease in there, you're going to run it right to the safety. And that's exactly what Chester Taylor did on that play. The Viking offensive line is taking over this game.
Second and goal. Taylor tries to angle his way into the end zone, and he can't. It's going to be third down and goal. And Chicago will need a goal line stand to avoid this turning into a 3-possession game.
And Adrian Peterson is coming into the game, so wouldn't you imagine the ball is going to be handed to him? I think if the play weren't a run to Adrian Peterson, I think they'd leave Chester Taylor in there.
Right. When I say 3-possession game, 3-possession lead is the definition of that. They'd be down by 17 if the extra point was good instead of keeping it to a field goal. And 13. Peterson back in. They give it to him, and he goes in easily for the touchdown. Flag down. Flag in the end zone.
Men on defense. Penalty is declined. Touchdown.
The old 4-4-4, 12 men on defense didn't even slow him down.
No.
That was a different formation. This is what we used to call FAR formation. You don't see it in football a lot anymore, where you have a fullback here and a halfback offset here, and you're going to run the ball back in here in a power off tackle. You usually see them in some form of I formation, but this is a play that we used to run years ago on the goal line. It's just called Bob Treo from far formation. In that case, it could have been near formation, but you don't see that set much anymore.
Sort of like an old tie in the back of the closet. Sometimes it does look good. Touchdown Peterson. Touchdown Vikings. 31-14 Minnesota. Guy right now scores the touchdown. 23 carries for 121 yards. Minnesota leads by 17. The Chicago turnovers have been extremely costly. Minnesota turnovers in that game in Chicago in October were the difference in that game. And Hester's going to fake the toss and then run it back. So they put Devin back, per John's suggestion, on the kickoff return team. And he brings it back out to the 41-yard line. But a big uphill struggle for Chicago right now with 8:18 to play.
As your love has evolved.
Tyler Orton on first down will throw, and it's tipped, and that is intercepted. Another pick by Benny Sapp. And Sapp chased down by Lloyd, who tries to strip it, and a flag is thrown at the end of the play as Benny Sapp comes up with an interception. And so Orton had thrown 205 consecutive passes without a pick, and now he's thrown 3 in his next 7 passes.
Right, and it's because of these soft zones that the Vikings are able to use, because their front 7 can dominate the line of scrimmage. So they don't have to bring that safety up. And you see everything they have, everyone deep. And look what Orton is throwing into.
On the return,
and they have a layer of linebackers.
Tackle. Number 80 of the passing team. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Lloyd coming from behind, got his hand inside the shoulder pad, so Sapp gets the interception.
Yeah, Sapp's been in there because he's a nickel back, and basically the Vikings have been playing nickel all night, and that's why Sapp was there. He got sick or something for a while. He went in the locker room, and he wasn't down there, and then he came back. So whatever he had, he got over quickly.
First down at the 20-yard line. Peterson is the running back. Peterson knives through and then just gets thrust back by Lance Briggs. He pays a price on every run.
Yeah, I don't know that he has to keep paying that price now. I mean, I think that, you know, that Adrian Peterson did his work for the night, did his job for the Vikings, and I don't know that he has to keep doing it.
2nd and 8 from the 18-yard line.
I mean, because, you know, at the end of every run, it's going to be a train wreck. I mean, he just doesn't give up on a run, and, you know, he's going to keep driving and keep getting hits.
4 more tough yards, and Harris gives him a hand to get up. It'll be 3rd down. There it is with Orton. A Chicago record 205 consecutive passes, no interceptions, and then all of a sudden hit the wall.
Yeah, and again, I think it's that, you know, Minnesota front defensive line that can handle, you know, they don't have to blitz, they don't have to press the line of scrimmage, they don't have to bring a safety down. Those guys take care of everything up there, and then they can play those soft zones and play 5 defensive backs.
3rd and 3. Peterson. He gets the first down, and they can chew up even more of the clock right now as Corey Graham makes the tackle to the 7-yard line. I think about Benny Sapp. You talk about one of those outhouse to the penthouse nights. You go back, I mean, that was the key to the game early in the 2nd quarter. Actually, it was a little bit later on, but he had that personal foul, which meant Chicago didn't have to punt. They went down. They had a 1st and goal. Fabulous goal line stand. 99-yard pass to Berrien. Turned the whole game around. Score before the half is over. And there's the guy. As I said, he got a get-out-of-jail-free card tonight.
That's why he's smiling, because he has that card.
Right. He was acquitted. Chester Taylor taken down at the 6-yard line. Go back to what we were talking about early on. There it was. This would have set up a punt. Instead, you had that. And then Chicago was on the cusp of going up 14-3. And the next thing you know, they stop them. They go up 10-7. They score again before the half, and then Orton melts down here in the 2nd half, and they're up by 17 and knocking on the door again.
Think he'll be fine for that?
Might be.
Yep.
2nd and goal. Peterson. Lance Briggs makes the tackle. Third down and goal. The Bears, and we go back, there's that graphic we showed before. Terrific against Tennessee, horrible against Green Bay, great against the Rams, albeit without Steven Jackson. And then tonight, 5.2 yards a rush and 181 yards on the ground for Minnesota against Chicago's defense.
Right, and that's, you know, a big part of that is Adrian Peterson. And when Lovie Smith said last night that he thinks he's the best player in the NFL, he was right.
And this time the best player in Lovie's mind is tackled by Israel Adonijah. And that will give Ryan Longwell the opportunity to come in and kick a field goal. And Chicago has to begin to think about conserving what they can on the clock. And so they take a timeout here with 4:21 to play in the 4th. Sunday Night Football being brought to you by the GMC Sierra, the official vehicle of the NFL. By the new AT&T, your world delivered. By Best Buy, you happier. And by McDonald's. Beautiful shot downtown Minneapolis. Lighted up on this 30th night of November as we head into the final month of the year and the final month of the NFL season.
And this is a time where you really want to be peaking in the NFL season. As you know, after Thanksgiving, I've always felt you kind of get yourself in position till Thanksgiving, and then from Thanksgiving on, you want to be peaking and getting better as you go into the playoffs.
28-yard field goal attempt here. 27 officially now as the ball is spotted down. And Longwell bangs that one through to push the Minnesota lead to 20, 34-14. Next week we will be in Baltimore, just outside the Beltway, with the Beltway boys, the Washington Redskins, trying to stay alive, take on the Baltimore Ravens, who are 8-4, and then the Giants and the Cowboys coming your way from Texas Stadium 2 weeks from tonight. Giants win again today at Washington, despite not having Plaxico Burress, 23-7. Redskins are a game out of the NFC wildcard spot right now. Joe Flacco will take a look at that good-looking rookie next week as the Ravens trying to get into the playoffs, a mark of 8-4, trailing in their division. However, Pittsburgh knocking off New England today, going to 9-3. Baltimore and Washington next week.
You know, tonight we see a real tough running back in Adrian Peterson, and next Sunday night we're going to see another real tough running back in Clinton Portis. I think they're kind of 1-2 in the league, you know, in that area.
And Portis going up that great Raven defense. Peterson tonight, 28 carries, 131 yards.
He is a man. If you had a whole bunch of him on the team, you come back and coach again.
Yeah. You too, huh?
Yeah, I would.
1 yard into the end zone. Danielle Manning. And he gets pushed out of bounds. And a flag is down. And that will push Chicago back.
During the return, holding number 52 of the receiving team. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Since that goal line stand, what a game changer that was.
You know, and that's why, you know, when you talk to your players as a coach, you know, every play is the important play. Every play is a big play. Every down is it, because you never know what's going to be the play, what's going to be the situation that is going to turn a game around.
And right now, that's the end of the play. It is no fumble as it was whistled dead by Bill Levy, but Jared Allen came in again for his third sack, so he gets the hat trick. Even though he won't get the touchdown, he does a little celebrating in the end zone anyway.
Well, what he does, that's his rope in the calf thing. You know, he's an old cowboy and wears a cowboy hat and everything, and when he gets a sack, he ropes a calf. But, I mean, he's been going around poor John St. Clair all night, and they haven't given him much help. I would think at some point you'd give him a little help so he wouldn't be there roping calves.
Might get fined for that because he used the ball as a prop, even though he didn't score the touchdown.
Now, the guy's played too hard.
Yeah.
Now, let's not get him fined.
Oh, no, we don't want to
He always does that. That's part of his deal.
Yep.
Maybe not with the ball, though, is what you're saying.
Yep. You've used it as a prop.
Yeah, you're right. But he still, I mean, he played too hard tonight to get fined.
He deserves. Yeah. He's been fined what, $80,000 this year?
Well, he got, I mean, that $25,000 one that hit, that was a bad call.
3rd and 18. Forte up to the 20-yard line. So it's 4th down, 3:20 remaining in regulation. The Minnesota Vikings that close to winding up in first place. Undisputed possession of first place in the NFC North, in a division where it looks like only the division champion will wind up going to the playoffs.
In a big game like this, some guys had to stand up and stand out. I think Gus Frerotte did a good job. He did his part. Adrian Peterson was just super. Jared Allen on defense. He controlled everything from that side.
And you know you want to fold the 10 as quickly as possible when you punt. On 4th down with 2:38 to play. Fair caught by Bernard Berrien, and down we go to Andrea.
Here's even more reason for you guys to love Jared Allen. When he was back in high school, before every game, he would watch the NFL's Toughest Man video. That would get his attitude going. And he told me that he plays this game to honor those who preceded him. Jack Youngblood, Dick Butkus, Ronnie Lott. In fact, he was in awe when he actually talked with Dick Butkus at a golf tournament this past March, saying players like him are what the league was built on. Hey, John, how do you think those guys would have held up with today's rules?
I'll tell you, they would adjust. I mean, you know, great players in any era would be great players. And Jared Allen, you know, has that perfect temperament to play the game the way it's supposed to be played.
He drinks in life, all of it.
Yeah, he sure does. And he's starting his celebration. He may celebrate until Tuesday.
With a whole bunch of Vikings.
You know, and they traded for him and brought him in here. You know who went to pick him up at the airport? Pat Williams and Kevin Williams. Pat Williams said, "You think maybe that guy's as goofy as me?" And I said, "Is he?" And he goes, "Oh no, he's not, but he's goofy."
We go to the 2-minute warning. Vikings are 120 seconds away from first place and a record of 7-5. Beltway or the BW Parkway or whatever you want to call it, separated by about 40 miles. The Ravens and Redskins next week. Wendy's post-game report. Horse trailer player of the game. Andrea has an interview. And Bob and Chris in the studio. Fast forward to week 14, the first week of December. Bloodied but unbowed is Adrian Peterson. Second and 11 from the 34. And the Chicago Bears go home after the game. 3 consecutive home games. And now they're going to need some help because they're going to trail the Vikings by a game, and they will have split the season series with Minnesota.
You know, when you get to December in football, it's a tough teams. I mean, that's when you have to do the things like block and tackle and be crisp and all those things. Kind of like the Vikings look tonight. Kind of like the way the Minnesota, Vikings are played, like the Giants play, like Pittsburgh plays, like, you know, those tough teams.
And that's Mark Anderson making the tackle here on Taylor. Ticking down to a minute. There they are right now. Portis, that neck injury today in the game against the Giants. Michael Turner had a big day as he went back to San Diego as an Atlanta Falcon and led them to a victory. Forte is 5th in the league in rushing. And Minnesota will let the clock run all the way down before Kluwe sends a punt down to the Bears.
Timeout, Minnesota. That's their first charge. Timeout. 30-second timeout.
So Minnesota will become only the 2nd home team to win a game today. Amazing. 2-10. Tied for the worst record on one day in the history of the NFL when they played at least 7 games on any given day.
You know, that's why ultimately and eventually you have to get out and play, because, you know, everyone will say, oh, they have an advantage. They have 3 games at home. They have this at home. And then they have a game at home and they go lose it. You know,
right.
I mean, eventually you still have to go out there and play and win.
Kluwe's punt fielded at the 15-yard line. They sent Earl Bennett back there to run it back. Brings it back up to the 31-yard line. Road teams 10-2. Once again proving the old adage, John, nobody knows squat.
No, that's right. And that whole thing about teams from the West that travel to the East lose all the time. And, you know, and they probably do because they're not very good. The teams in the West aren't very good, but travel has nothing to do with it.
Right.
Like someone said, it's not traveling on the airplane that does it. It's the guys you bring on the airplane.
49ers win at Buffalo today. From the 32. And they'll just Run it out here as Garrett Wolf gets the carry, and that will do it. The Minnesota Vikings turning the game around on a fabulous goal line stand, on a 99-yard touchdown pass, on a touchdown at the end of the half, on a dominant second half where they pick Orton off 3 times, go to 7-5 in the NFC North and take undisputed possession of first place in the division. They win it by a score of 34-14. The Wendy's post-game report from Minneapolis and from 30 Rock coming up after these messages from your local NBC station.
Vikings take care of business, 34-14, the final at the Metrodome tonight. The Bears having about as much success against the Vikings in that sacred ground as the White Sox have had against the Twinkies over the years.
Can we go back to the Bulls game?
Yeah, can we just keep showing Derrick Rose highlights? That might help.
A beautiful thing.
Bears now dropped to 6-6 on the campaign. The Vikings all alone now in first place in the NFC North. Adrian Peterson, another huge game. He goes over the 100-yard mark, 131 yards. He registered his 8th touchdown now in 4 career games against the Bears. Kyle Orton, 3 interceptions, led to 17 Vikings points. So the Bears now fall into a second-place hole now in the NFC North as the Packers lost today. They are 2 games back of the Vikings. Bears now 6-6 on the campaign. I know it's the holiday season. All I'm asking from Santa this year is to never see the Bears give the ball to the fullback in a goal line situation ever again. And my holiday will be made for me.
Who is Jason Davis? Seriously. I mean, where did it come from?
Somebody who should not have touched the rock on third goal on the wall.
Has he ever taken a handoff in an NFL game?
Evidently today he was the secret weapon. It backfired.
They're going, they'll never think this is going to happen.
Welcome to U.S. Cellular Bears Postgame Live. Thanks for staying up with us. I'm Pat Boyle, Mike Side with 3 former Bears, Mr. GQ, Jerry Azuma, our quarterback, Jim Miller, and our lead blocker, Dan Jickens. I think we all agree the turning point of the game, second quarter, Bears up 7-3, a chance to make it 14-3, first and goal from the 1. Please, gentlemen, explain the play calling that happened from that point.
Well, we've seen it before.
Yes, we have.
Jim, since you're the field general, go ahead.
It's like Nightmare on Elm Street because we saw it against the Carolina Panthers. If you remember, same thing. I mean, they tried the fullback dive down there in the goal line area. It doesn't fool anybody, especially with the Minnesota Vikings. That's what they're geared towards, to stop. They get pushed with the Williams brothers. These guys are too big, too strong. Then the play after, we'll pull Beekman. We knew how that worked against Carolina. The power play, same thing. They get the push, throws Beekman off, forces the Bears to go or to lose it on 4th down. Really unbelievable. And that, you could see how deflating that was. They panned Kyle Orton after that series. After that. You just see the team just nosedive.
The hard thing is to take a guard out of the offensive line in that kind of a situation because you leave a void, and that void has to be filled by the other lineman trying to cut down, get back into that hole. But what normally happens with these guys in Minnesota is they're coming across the line of scrimmage. And when the big fellas inside decide to come across the line of scrimmage, they blow plays up, and that's what happened.
Yeah, there was only one guy that wanted to play today, and that was Forte. You know, Forte was the only one that wanted to play. No one else came to play.
He's the only offense, basically, outside of that Devin Hester play, basically was the only offense that the Bears had today. I felt sorry for him after a while. I mean, they just going to him. And I know before I said he's a young guy, don't worry about it. He can carry the ball and carry the ball. I don't know. You keep going to him that much, he might be drained before the season's over.
All right, we got a lot to get to. As always, we want to hear from you along the way. Send us your comments on tonight's game. You'll see some of them at the bottom of our sports ticker. Keep the comments short. Keep them clean. You can email the show at csnchicago.com. Click on the Bears page and the PGL icon. Or you can send us an email to bearspgl@comcastsportsnet.com. For the rest of the season, Jigs will pick the best comment from you at home. So get creative tonight, please. The winner will receive an autographed copy of his book, Then Ditka Said to Peyton, the best Chicago Bears stories ever told, by Dan and his buddy from the Tribune, Fred Mitchell. For details on this contest and to submit your comment, please visit our website, csnchicago.com. But let's get this thing going with our opening kickoff. And Let's start with our pulling guard that we would not pull in a goal line situation, Dan Jiggets.
You know, I think one of the things the Bears have to learn is when good things happen, you have to keep playing. If you ever notice, like during the course of the season, it seems like whenever something really good happens for them, then they kind of mentally just lose it for a while because it's like, oh, okay, we're where we're supposed to be, and the next thing you know, here comes a disaster, and that's what happened tonight.
Well, it's pretty interesting because I thought the Bears had everything in front of them. We know what happened today with the Green Bay Packers and the Carolina Panthers, waiting there on a silver platter and couldn't cash in. So, you know, to me, it's the second week in a row out of the past 3 weeks, or actually the past 3 weeks, two games where they basically had their will broken. And that's surprising when you have that waiting for you on the silver platter. Unfortunate because a lot of it was self-inflicted.
Basically, the basic fundamentals of football was lost today, and that is very frustrating. Tackling, they did a poor job with tackling, catching the football. There's way too many drops. Just the basic fundamentals of football they just got away from. And it's sad because this is the 12th game of the season, and to see a team like this not tackling, you know, not catching the ball, doing the necessary things to win, it's very frustrating.
Well, you know, here's the thing, though. During the course of the early part of the season, we kept talking about all of these things, and a lot of players were like, hey, don't worry about it. We'll get this, we'll get that. We told you at that time, it comes back to haunt you. You lost those games early in the season, and all of a sudden now, you know, you get a game against Minnesota. You really need to stay in first place in the division and put some distance between yourself and the second place team. And all of a sudden, all of these things that you've been doing all season long, they all catch up to you. And that's why coaches tell you, you know, from day one to the last day of the season, be that if it ends at the Super Bowl, you have to take care of all the little things, the fundamentals of the game, in order to be a good football team. And frankly, there are times when this team is not fundamentally sound.
Jigs, I have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
Do you think that they were feeling themselves a little bit too much after that Rams victory?
I mean, you know what? I hope not, because I think Hinsdale could have beaten the Rams.
Yeah. But I mean, they had good fundamentals then.
They were that's the point.
Then.
See, everybody we said at the end of that game said, look, remember that, yeah, you know, everything looked great, but it was the Rams. And you know, some people say, well, you know, come on, you know, get on board and everything. But you see what happens now when you play a really good team and you go in with the mental frame of mind, maybe that, you know what, don't worry about it. We're all squared away.
I like the way the Bears came out tonight. I did not have a problem with their effort. I think it was 6 and out, 3 and out, and they had some momentum on the defense. Now, they weren't wrapping up like you said.
Right.
They certainly, against Adrian Peterson, they were going for the strip. First man needs to come in, wrap up. Next guy needs to come in.
But here's the
not
point,
what they
though.
were doing tonight.
When you look at the offensive productivity in the first half, and you look at how many passes were dropped, as Jerry mentioned, and the fact that, you know, your quarterback comes out of the first half with 5 completions, that's not winning football.
Okay, let's get to that. Now, Kyle Orton, please don't misconstrue this thought process here. I believe Kyle Orton is better than Rex Grossman. Hear me out. A injured Kyle Orton versus a healthy Rex Grossman. He is injured. He is not completing passes. He's not coming close to his receivers at times. Now, there were plenty of drops out there as well. So some of the wide receivers should be held accountable for some of those drops tonight. Rasheed Davis, Hester, there were a few out there.
More than a few.
But
yeah, this is a couple.
Should he have been playing tonight?
Yeah, because he gives them the best chance to win. Absolutely. You can see the confidence of the team when he's in there versus Rex Grossman.
Oh, I agree with that. But I mean, if you can't get that, if you can't complete a simple pass, like he had guys open and he was not even coming close.
Well, I think a lot of it was due. He started to lose confidence in his receivers. But Lovie Smith knows that. To send a message to the team, hey, we got to play our best this game against Minnesota, knowing what's on the line. Kyle Orton gives the team the most confidence. And, of course, you go in with your best. You want your team feeling sky high. And that's what Orton, you know, presents the Chicago Bears right now. I think his receivers failed him tonight more than anything.
Yeah, because, I mean, you look back at last week. Was anybody worried about his ankle, you know, in the third quarter last week?
He practiced better this week.
Right. So you judge it from that. And I think what happens, too, a lot of times is the coaches will come around you and say, hey, look, are you good to go? If you're not good to go, tell us, because we can put somebody else in there. Are you good to go? And he goes, yeah, I'm good to go. Get out there then.
Well, I do believe they think that, you know, Rex, you know, healthy versus Kyle at 70%, they'd rather have Orton
6 in
out
one
there.
hand, half a dozen in the other.
But what you've seen from Kyle, we'll see what happens. Here's Kyle. He's ready to address the media live at the Metrodome. Let's listen in on Comcast Sportsnet.
How much did everything change in those 2 plays, the stop on 4th down and then the 99-yard pass?
Yeah, I mean, you get down there, we had a chance to really take momentum of the game, and I think we were going to be able to get up by 2 scores, and they made a great, you know, they're a good defense, and they made the plays when they had to, and they had a great, 4th and goal stand.
Is that a risky call for you guys on the road to go for it on 4th and goal?
Well, I mean, if you're gonna win these tough games, you gotta make plays and you got to capitalize on it. Against a defense like this, you're not going to have too many opportunities down there, and we felt like we needed to get 7 to shift the momentum of the game, and it just didn't work out.
When you get to the sidelines and then they come back with that big play on the very next play, does that feel like a punch to the gut?
Well, just they made plays and we didn't, and it was a key factor in the game.
Would you guys have scored there if you give it to Forte 4 times?
How am I supposed to know that? I don't know. We ran the 4 best plays that we thought we had down there, and they didn't work out.
Kyle, interceptions haven't been a problem for a long time most of the season. What happened in the second half?
Tough to win games when you throw 3 picks. Passing game needs to step it up. I need to step it up, put it on myself, and get back to work and get better.
Was picks maybe trying to make things happen or something being behind?
The first one was a poor read, and I pride myself on my reads, and haven't made one that bad for a while. So it wasn't good. And then the 2 other ones, it happens.
Was it hard to get momentum in the second half? It seemed like after the 99-yard touchdown to them, you guys just couldn't get it back.
It was tough for us to get anything going all game, really. Like I said, they're a good defense. It's a tough place to play, and when you don't execute, it's going to be tough. So all you can do is look at yourself and go from there.
Kyle, there were 2 passes in a row that you just about hit with Rashid back-to-back and Devin. Was it just timing? Were they making adjustments as the ball was in there? Why didn't those connect?
Don't know. I have to go back and watch the film. Just focus on my play and go from there.
How do you look at the final games now? This is 6-game season. You guys are 1-1.
Well, it's not in our control now, but we control what we do the next 5 games. We need to win them all, and hopefully we can get some help.
All right, thank you.
Kyle Orton addressing the media after the Vikings take care of business 34-14, the final at the Metrodome tonight. Here's a look at Kyle from the first half to the second half. 5 of 16 in that first half for 105 yards. He did have the 1 touchdown pass to Hester, the 65-yard touchdown on the quick slant there to give the Bears a 7-0 lead, but just wasn't on his game. There were lots of drops out there. We'll get to more of that in just a second. Here's Lovey addressing the media live at the Metrodome.
In pretty good shape. Had a big takeaway there, a big run at least to get down 1st and goal. We got to be able to get the ball in with 4 tries. From there, still had them backed up. You can't let them throw it for a 99-yard touchdown pass or whatever it was. But we fought ourselves back, and got back in position. I think 14-17, but there, then it kind of collapsed on us a little bit. Offensively, the takeaways, you can't turn the ball over like that. And then defensively, we got to do a little bit better job on the run and some other things. It's a takeaway football game, and we didn't get enough tonight either. Injury-wise, Dusty Dvorak went down with an arm injury. Besides that, we had some bumps and bruises, but disappointing loss for our football team. We have 4 games left to go. We control our destiny before tonight. Now we need a little bit of help. But for us, we have Jacksonville coming up, and no time to feel sorry for ourselves. We got to get ready for them. Take your question.
Lovey, can you talk about the thinking and going for it on 4th and goal on the road? Very difficult place.
Well, just that. Felt like we needed a touchdown in that situation. You got to be able to get it in from there. If you don't get it in from there, you probably don't deserve to win.
Was Tillman expecting help on that long pass? Looked like he broke to the
No, he wasn't. 3 deep coverage, and we didn't play it well.
Is Dvorak, Lovey, from what you know, fairly seriously injured?
Yes, it's a serious injury.
Interceptions by Kyle. Do you think he was forcing throws, or do you think he just had some bad luck?
I think you have games like that. Kyle has played great ball. He had a long streak going, but all quarterbacks normally, eventually they'll throw some interceptions. Kyle will learn from this day and go from there.
I feel like you're running out of time on the season with only 1 division game left now.
We definitely ran out of time. 4 games left to go. We started a 6-game season a couple weeks ago, but we still have time. Nothing has been decided right now. We're 1 game out of first place. Again, we need a little bit of help. All we can do right now is just take care of our business. And that right now is one game, Jacksonville.
I'm glad they at least have a few in a row at home now, get off this 3-game road.
It would definitely be good to play the next 3 at home, especially this next one coming up.
So everybody,
Thank you.
Thank you. Please go around to the locker.
Lovey's crew falls to 6-6 on the campaign, needing some help now as they trail the Vikings by a game in the NFC North. Here's our coaching report card, C's across the board. I assume a lot of that has to do with the goal line offensive play calling. Do you kick it on 4th and 1? What were your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree with Lovey. You got, 3 shots, 4 shots at it from inside the 1-yard line. Come on. But then again, you run a play with a fullback that hasn't run the football before, and then you try a fade route, that doesn't work, and then you have the 2 run plays, and that's it. You should be able to get a yard in 4 downs.
In theory.
On the road, I kick the field goal. At home, I go.
Even, we got hindsight is 2020 at
hindsight
this
is
point.
20. I understand he's aggressive, he's playing, you know what's on the table, and I understand all that, but still, it's giving your team a chance.
Well, let's look at it this way, though. You're down on the 1-yard line, okay, with an opportunity to score. You don't get it. You say, oh, what's the worst that could happen? Okay, then maybe we get the ball back like they did before, because you have Minnesota backed up if they have to, take the ball over, and then you get it back, and your defense does their job 3 and out, and then boom, you get the ball right back down there. That's the thinking. Yeah. What you don't plan on is somebody going to sleep at cornerback.
And let's get to that, Jiggs. The 99-yard touchdown pass from Gus Frerotte to our good buddy Bernard Berrien. They were in 3 deep coverage. Explain to me what the heck happened there with Peanut Tillman covering Berrien, a guy he knows very well.
Right. Well, the way that the Bears played 3 deep is that the corners have to be deep outside third, which means they are on the outside of that wide receiver and on the upfield shoulder. For some odd reason, Peanut jumped inside, and I don't understand why he jumped aside, because usually if number 1 and number 2, the second receiver, are going vertical, you have to overlap and play in between those guys and play with plenty of depth. But it just seems like he just kind of lost sight, saw an in cut or something, and just lost sight of Bernard behind him, which resulted into a 99-yard touchdown.
Which the goal of 3 deep is stay as deep as the deepest man.
That's right.
So that's the key fundamentals that Jerry touched on in his monologue. That was broken. Looked like Tillman almost guessed on it because he saw the Y shallow coming. Normally there's an in route coming on the back side of it. And so he just guessed, tried to play a trail technique, completely went against his fundamentals in the teaching of 3 deep and just guessing on the play.
Because, you take the law of averages, you say they got 99 yards to go.
Yeah.
Okay, whoever goes 99 yards, right, in one play, then here it is, right up top.
Yeah, it was a complete breakdown in cover 3. I mean, they are used to playing this defense. Peanut, a veteran, is used to playing this defense. He knows how to get the job done.
Now,
And unfortunately,
as much as that play upset me with Peanut, he made a play early in the ball game. That was a real hustle play. You remember that one was when Adrian Peterson broke away for the 59-yarder, and had it not been for Peanut, then that would have been a touchdown run. That's right. But he made the effort to get down the field.
It was a lot of effort.
That play right there. They should have had Adrian Peterson wrapped up at the line of scrimmage.
No, I disagree.
How many guys had
They only had 9 guys on
Kevin
him.
Payne,
they only had 9 guys on
he took the 7-pin and the 3-pin and bounced him off Adrian Peterson. I'll tell you what was perfect. He came in there and just blew up his own teammate.
See, but this is what happens. Yeah, you got a guy like Kevin Payne. Kevin likes to come in and deliver the hard blow.
Right.
But the problem is sometimes if you miss, you end up knocking your guys off the running back.
That's right.
And that's what happened in the situation.
And we've seen Adrian Peterson not go down several times.
They took the pile and drove it about 10 yards a couple times.
Yeah, so you definitely have to wrap up against this guy.
Here's Adrian Peterson, first half to the second half, and he goes for 131 yards, 7.1 yards per carry in the first half. But again, now look, I think this guy is tremendous, and he's a lot of fun to watch unless he's playing your team. But I think the Bears helped him out on this night.
Yeah. Well, you saw the plan in Minnesota. It's inside zone, inside zone, inside zone, boom. Then we're going to stretch you. And we always talk about gap control. By the end of the third quarter, especially think of Chester Taylor's run, Marcus Harrison had no business. I mean, that's what gap control is. He had a shot at tackling him, but it just
he was gassed.
Basically, it just ruins the integrity of gap control because they were consistent in their message and then with the stretch.
But see, and that's why you stay with the run too. I understand Minnesota's ahead, but see, they never really varied from that. They just kept coming back to that, kept pounding that football at you, and sooner or later, because those guys, the big guys, do get tired. Just like we said with the Minnesota's big guys. keep running that no huddle, and they'll get gassed, and that's what happened.
And to your credit, the Bears did that. They were trying inside with Forte. Weren't having a ton of success, but then that toss left, that stretch. He went around the outside and set up a score, or actually set up the goal line situation.
The goal line
I'm
situation.
sorry. The almost score should have been a score.
That's why I'm waiting off of that fullback belly for the pitch to Forte. Fine.
God, please don't ever run that play
seen
again.
it, and then you pitch it to the outside because they had set up the inside so much. Boom, that's the play you're going to get them on, because same thing, they got a pinch. Those guys that's what they're down there for. They're trying to stop the run up the middle. Boom, you can hit them to the outside. I'm waiting for that play to get called. I'm sure it's in the playbook somewhere.
If you look back, everybody always talks about tendencies. Well, what are the Bears' tendencies in terms of what they run from the run game standpoint, when they get down on the goal line? Most of it's focused between the tackles. And if you're going to run something, you run the lead. Yeah, okay, I kind of like that. When you send that fullback up in there and then the backup over the top behind him. But you know what? When you send the guy in there solo, you're asking for it, and they got what they asked for tonight.
All right, well, that leads us now to our U.S. Cellular poll question of the night. What play would you have called on 4th and goal from the 1-yard line? Here are your options. A, quarterback sneak. B, run Forte outside. C, try that wildcat formation, or the Cajun cane, as we call it here in Chicago. D, how about a little play action pass? Or E, kick a field goal? Log on to the news, csnchicago.com, to vote. Plus, you can send us your thoughts on tonight's game. We'll have the results of our poll question later in the show. Game, join Luke Canales and Dan Jiggets tomorrow at 5 o'clock for Bears Recap. You'll hear Lovey's day after presser. And Jiggs will break down all the key plays. I wonder if the goal line situation will be a part of that package. That's Bears Recap tomorrow at 5 o'clock right here on Comcast Sportsnet. You can help us out by emailing the show throughout the next 90 minutes. You can reach us at csnchicago.com like Ruben has from Virginia Beach, Virginia. Thanks for dialing us up tonight, Ruben. Is it me, or do the Bears seem like they give up when things go bad? You think there's some give up in this team, guys?
I thought their will got broken tonight. And 2 weeks ago against the Green Bay Packers, I thought their will was broken. I mean, when you're just getting pounded, play in and play out, yeah, it starts to wear on you. And again, it goes back to that goal line situation. That can deflate a team more than anything. 2 back-to-back big plays. We talk about momentum changers. That was it in a nutshell. That team was deflated.
So to follow your line of thinking, then that's why you would kick the field goal, so at least get 3 points out of it, get out of the what could be a potentially really devastating situation.
Yeah, that's my opinion.
Well, the Bears wideouts continue to struggle getting involved with this offense. Devin Hester with 3 catches leading the way for the wide receivers. Brandon Lloyd, Rasheed Davis, and then the tight ends chime in with 1 catch apiece. Brandon Lloyd is standing by now live with our William Jackson in Minneapolis. Good evening, William. How you doing?
Hey, Pat, how you doing, man? And the Bears wanted to be doing a little better had they been able to get that win tonight and distance themselves, but it was not in the cards tonight. Brandon, how disappointing is it, first off, not to capitalize on an ideal situation?
It's very disappointing. I mean, we felt like we were really prepared this week. We had a great week of practice, and we just didn't make the plays. It wasn't like we came out there and we didn't show up. Mm-hmm. We were out there, we were in position, and we just could not make the plays, and they made the plays, and so therefore they're the winner.
And is it even more frustrating when you know that it's just a game of inches, a bunch of balls, game of inches? You made a nice catch, but the ball comes up just as short when you beat your guy. How frustrating are those situations?
I mean, it's tough. The West Coast offense is a beast now. You have to be hitting on all cylinders. Your run game really has to be hitting before you can just jump into the pass game, or your pass game really has to be hitting before you can, jump in the run game. And when you're not executing on either one of those ends, it makes for a flat performance, and and the plays just don't come to you. So it's tough, man. And we're doing our best to try to make the offense work and put the plays up. But at the same time, we got to make the plays when it comes down to the player.
Mm-hmm. And there's so much parity in the NFL these days, and with it being such a game of emotions and so much equal talent across the board, how much does it mean when they get a goal line stand and they're able to take it a 14-point swing? What does that do to take the adrenaline out of you?
Well, it's huge. People don't think of a football game and momentum. You know, I think a faster paced game like a basketball game, momentum, or tennis or something like that. But football is huge momentum, you know, and you get down in the goal line, you have so much confidence in your goal line package, you have so much confidence in your blockers and your runner, and you go for it on fourth down and you don't get it. It takes a lot of the air, it takes a lot of the wind out of your sails, and it's just kind of one of those things where you gotta try to regroup and try to get a stop on the other end and get the ball back in your hands and try to get some good field position in which you can kind of drive the ball down, because it would be in a long drive that gives you confidence, like, hey, look, we can drive on them, but then you get down there and you don't get it. That's what makes it tough.
Okay, so a tough situation now, but you guys have to get back on the horse, get back in the saddle next week. 4 games left, and you still have a chance to do some things, but it would have been even more comfortable after tonight had you been able to get the win.
And of course, we go from having a locked position to being in the hunt group. We kind of go ahead and skip the wild card spot and go into the hunt group. So that kind of, that makes it tough, and it takes it out of our hands, and it puts it into teams losing and other teams losing and winning games. And all we got to do is go out there and win our games. It's not easy, it's just saying that, but we got to do our part and win our games and let the cards fall where they may.
Okay, Brandon, appreciate it, man. No tough loss. No, you guys have to regroup. Okay. All right, Pat, so you heard it from Brandon Lloyd. These guys will go back, try and get it together, and running out of weeks now, 4 weeks left, but they still have a shot, still in the thick of things. They just have to execute, and they have to do it extremely fast as the season is winding down big time. Let's go back to you guys in the studio.
All right, William, the next 3 now on the lakefront, beginning with Jacksonville next Sunday. Let's take a look now at the receiving core, and the lack of production in this department continues. Devin Hester with 3 catches. He did have the nice touchdown to start the game.
The touchdown was 65 yards, so the other receptions, that means he had 2 yards receiving outside of that long touchdown.
That is correct. What can they do, Jim, to get this wide receiving core more part of this offense?
Just when I think Devin Hester is making strides, like last week against St. Louis, today he took a couple steps back. If you saw him on a slant route, he went over the top. On the second one, probably still should have caught it. And then think of the Ben Lieber interception. That's a return route. He can't leave Kyle Orton hanging out to dry on that play. If you're returning, you return. You go to the outside. There, Ben Lieber undercuts him, and he goes for a touchdown. I think Ron Turner's doing the best he can. It's get the ball to Matt Forte, because nobody else outside of Matt Forte has stepped up and made the plays where Kyle has now confidence. When I talk about Kyle's confidence going down, you get a receiver to run a bad route like Devin Hester did, then you start throwing picks because of it, because he's not running the correct routes. You will lose confidence in all those guys. So he's not on a good page with it.
It's a trust factor.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to be able to trust your guys, and if you have that feeling that, you know what, gee, I know he knows he's supposed to do this, but is he really going to do it? So maybe you hold up that extra second or so. The other thing is that I'm interested in finding some wide receivers that want to catch the football. So anytime anyone want to volunteer.
Had one
what about the
right
tight
here.
ends, though? What about the tight ends?
Well, I thought today, I think they tried to make up for the fullback position by, you saw him putting Greg Olsen in the backfield. So to me, they were more in a protection mode when you look at that, especially because Jared Allen was tearing up the left tackle. So they weren't as involved. Just Y sticks is all I saw tonight. Yeah, I think that's a tight end is the quarterback's best friend, especially when those guys on the outside aren't winning.
A lot of people chiming in about the play of Kyle Orton. Someone says Orton played awful bad play calls on the goal line. The goal line and the 3 picks killed the Bears. That's Mark from Lake Zurich. Let's get back to the discussion about starting Kyle Orton, or at least keeping him in this ball game. When you initially went down with the high ankle sprain, we said 4 weeks. So that was the standard time that it takes most athletes to recover from this type of injury. Well, he only missed the 1 game and returned. We've seen now, a step positive, 2 steps back. A decent throw, a decent series, 2 bad series. So when you've got this inconsistent play, do you have to reassess and say, you know what, maybe it is better to put somebody out there who's healthy, even though he's not as good as Kyle?
Here's an example, though, if your receivers do catch the football. Today, if you watch the Green Bay Packers, and I know they lost the ball game, but Aaron Rodgers came out in the first half and looked like he had never played football before. The second half, though, he kept, the mentally, he kept himself in control. The receiver started holding on to the football, and he comes out and has an explosive second half. That's what you need your receivers to do. Sometimes, if you're the quarterback, you're not having the best day of days, you need those guys to make a couple exceptional plays.
Well, it's a great point, and you kind of touched on it with, gaining the trust of your receivers. The one thing I don't like what the Bears do, Why is one game it's Rasheed Davis? Why is one game it's Devin Hester? Why is one game it's Marty Booker? Get two guys, get them out there and play some football. I mean, you can't get on the same page if you're always changing receivers and different guys. One week you're splitting Greg Olsen out, which I'm fine with that. I'm all for getting formations and stuff like that, but there is not two guys that are there every single play that I know exactly what they're doing. I think Kyle's having some trouble with that as well.
Does that speak more to the lack of playmakers they have on the offensive side?
I think they're so big on matchups where, hey, we're going to call this formation, we're going to get Rasheed. I'm all for that, but if Rasheed can run a Z option, so can Devin Hester, you know, in my opinion. Not one guy is better. These are all routes that they all should be good at, and sure, they're better at some than others, but certain guys need to be good, especially your outside guys. If Rasheed's your slot guy, keep him in the slot and keep him there every week. That's what it needs to be.
Let's get to some of the defensive play. Early on, I thought the intensity much better tonight. This was not the team that showed up at Lambeau Field a few weeks ago and was completely demoralized in their effort. There was an interesting play where Wale levels Gus Farrat, or was it Gus acting? You guys in the green room seem to think that the Emmy goes to the veteran, Mr. Farrat.
Number one, he's stumbling backwards, and Wally's coming around the edge. You know what is he supposed to do? Try to get out of his way? It's a quarterback, so he hit him in the back. It was no big deal. And he flops right down to his face. He probably hurt himself more on the flop down than when Wally hit him.
He went after his head or anything like that, or chopped him or anything like that.
Just a little kidney shot.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Quarterback's a football player, right, Jim?
That was a good acting job. He looked like he was floating in the pool right there.
Well, I know it's deer hunting season up there, but come on.
Wow. Here's a look at the Bears defense, giving up the 34 points, 378 total yards, 2 sacks, 1 takeaway. Again, those sacks coming early on in the game. They were 5 of 17 on third down. What did you think of the Bears defense early on, bringing up the linebackers? We even saw a corner blitz. Did everything change just when, you know, when this team is on the field? I got to take a look at the time of possession here in a second, but when this Bears defense is on for an extended period of time, or there's a quick 3 and out from the offense, it is a precipitous drop from what they are able to do on the defensive side.
I think they started off real strong. They started off good. They had a good game plan. You know, coming in, they knew that they had to stop the run. Adrian Peterson, you know, everyone has to stop the run. And they did that the better half of the first half. But then it just seemed like they just tapered off and they just started to take a nosedive. It seems like they were kind of outsmarting themselves with some of the schemes that they were running.
They put the numbers up for Adrian Peterson and his runs against the Bears defense in the first half. And you saw it was like 2, -1, this, that, the other.
It was like Barry Sanders.
And then that one big run. Yeah, and then they went back to doing the same thing. Yeah. But you did enough to have 100 yards in the first half.
That defense has to eliminate the big play, you know, because the big play is just demoralizing them.
Yeah, I don't know how big of a loss that was with Dusty Dvorak, because you could tell Marcus Harrison was winded the second half. And Lovey's always been saying, we're going to rotate the guys in there. I think that was actually a bigger blow than anybody anticipated, because they were significantly winded the second half.
But, they still have, like, Israel Adonijay.
8 guys
they've got Adams, Anthony Adams in there to rotate in as well. I mean, you should be able to get by on that.
By the way, the time of possession was 33-45 for the Vikings to 26-15 for the Bears. We're standing by. We're going to go live to Minneapolis and hear from Devin Hester. I want to ask you guys about the play of Daniel Manning in the kick return game and what you've seen now in that transition, and is it actually helping out Devin on the wide receiving side of the ledger?
I actually like Danielle running the ball, running the kickoff return. He's a guy that hits it extremely hard. And you know what? It helps Devin out because it gives him a breather a little bit, because Devin's now a starter and he has to go out there and produce on the offensive side of the football. But, I like the fact that Danielle's returning these kicks.
Devin Hester, 3 catches for 67 yards and a tutty. He's standing by now live with our William Jackson at the Metrodome. Take it away, William.
I appreciate it, Pat. As you said, here with Devin Hester, and he did something tonight we're accustomed to seeing from Devin. That's getting to the end zone. Just tell us about the touchdown that really ignited your ball club at that point in the game.
It's basically a slant called, and the corner kind of, bailed out, left the window open for me, and Kyle threw a great ball, and, just tried to do what I could, and get upfield and end up getting into the end zone.
And you knew once you broke the hand tackles, it was pretty much a done deal?
Most definitely, yeah.
Okay. Now, they seem to be trying to get you the ball more and more. Was that a case again tonight? I know he's kept coming to you, trying to continuously.
Yeah, he's just trying to get all the players involved into the game. We know that when all the players contribute to the ballpark of the game, you know, big things happen, you know, and that's what we try to do is come out and spread the ball out, spread the ball around a little bit, and came up pretty short today. So we're gonna go back to the drawing board tomorrow and look forward to Jacksonville.
And as you look forward to the last 4 games, you guys could have really separated yourselves today. It didn't happen, but you're still in the hunt. What is your mindset as you go forward from this point on?
Now, basically what we got to do is just win out, you know, and we kind of in the boat where we got to hope for somebody to lose or, you know, hope for somebody to win now. So right now the best thing we can do is just stay positive and just try to win out the rest of our games.
And I know that's something that you guys talked about. You wanted to control your own destiny and fate, but sometimes it just doesn't work out that way.
Right, most definitely. You know, sometimes things happen, but at the end, you know, we keep pressing and pressing, you know, eventually good things start to happen.
Okay. Talk about the importance of momentum, too, because it seemed like you guys are about to go up 14-3, and just like that, they get the goal line stand and they hit the 99-yarder. Something like that can change momentum of a game just quickly.
Yeah, momentum is a key asset to the game. Whenever you got a team that driving on momentum, terminally they has a lot of success, you know, and we had momentum going into, you know, and fell short of, you know, the goal line stands, and then they hit a, 90-something yard touchdown and gained momentum back and never lost it from that point. So, you know, like I said, momentum is a big-time part of the game. You know, whoever had the momentum feeds off it and drives off it.
Okay. And you, again, more on the punt return, not doing as much kicking, legs fresher, though?
Yeah, you know, we just – well, Danielle is a great returner, so, you know, when you have 2 home run hitters, you know, you try to share to spread the ball out and keep both of them fresh, and that's basically what Coach Dave told us doing now, you know, just trying to keep both our legs fresh and alternate a little bit.
All right, Devin, appreciate it as always, man. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
All right, Pat, let's go back to you guys in the studio. Devin Hester showed us some of that electricity that we've grown accustomed to see. We just want to see if we can see it for the remainder of the season. Back to you.
All right, William and Neil, you heard Devin say how much the momentum affected him on the sidelines. Certainly seems to be the talking point that most of the Bears are hitting on this night. Here's a look at what the Windy City Flyer did in the return game. He had 3 punt returns for an average of 4 yards per return. His longest was 15 yards. He did have 2 kickoff returns for 48 yards for a long of 25. Daniel Manning averaging 28 yards per return. He had 5 returns. So let's get into this now. Your thoughts on what you've seen now the last few weeks, trying to divide things up, giving him the opportunity to be just the punt returner and a little bit on the kicks to maybe save him so that he can be more productive as a wideout.
Yeah, I think so. It is about saving his legs. He's getting increased activity when it comes to the play calling. You can see a lot of plays are designed to go to Devin Hester, you know, i.e. the 65-yard touchdown pass early in the ball game. But, you know, you can still see he just doesn't look as confident in the return game. He's not hitting it. He's indecisive. So he's got to get that mojo back, get that confidence back. All it takes is one big return, and obviously he's up for the challenge.
You know, I got to go back to something else, though, the whole question of momentum and how it changes. There's another way that you get momentum back, that you make a play and you get yourself back in the game. You're not going to be leading every game. So when you come back out after the half, you're down 17-7, make some plays. You know, right at the end of the first half, they still had an opportunity to stay in the ball game, and they couldn't make any plays then. And then what happens? Minnesota gets the ball, drives back down. They have the long play to Klein Sasser, and then you got Farrat taking it in from 1 yard out, and all of a sudden it's 17-7 at the break.
Yeah, and one of the guys that did finally make a play was Kevin Payne to get the Bears back in this ball game to make it 17-14, and that was, I believe, off a Manning deflection tip ball. That Kevin Payne. What your thoughts on what we've seen now from the secondary? You know, we're not going to have Nate Vasher for the rest of the year. We saw Corey Graham out there who's been playing pretty good. I mean, he's got a lot of playing time this year. We've seen Danielle Manning, certainly a valuable asset to this team. Payne is still learning the ropes. Mike Brown, of course, is a savvy vet. Where do you see this secondary now, and where should it be to get to a championship caliber type of defense?
Well, frankly, I don't think that they will be a championship caliber defense until they start playing more press coverage. You can't let receivers run around like these guys do. I mean, it's tough. It's got to be extremely difficult, Jerry, to play cornerback and never lay your hands on a receiver. Just let them run wild, set up whatever they want to set up, and let them go wherever they want to go.
Today they had the matchup. They had Peanut, who's a bigger, cornerback, on Bernard. And they match up very well because Bernard's a little bit bigger and he's faster, and Peanut is physical. But I'd like to see them mix it up a lot more. Peanut is very, very aggressive, so we need to unleash Peanut. We need to get him up on the line of scrimmage and let him challenge these wide receivers and not let him have free releases, because we let him have a free release today and it ended up being a 99-yard touchdown.
And Bernard and Bobby have never been physical wide receivers. You know that, and they don't like a lot of contact. So I don't understand why the contact wasn't coming.
This was the perfect opportunity for the Bears to mix it up and have the corners play very, very aggressive, because realistically they were playing some, cover one. They were doing some things with the blitzes and bringing Mike Brown down to the box to stop the run, which means the corners had to basically be man-to-man. I just don't understand why they're not up on these receivers day in and day out. Every single play they should be up on these wide receivers.
Did he ever do that at practice with Bernard Berrien? I mean, how was Peanut at practice with Bernard?
Oh, yeah, Peanut would go after Bernard. I mean, that's how Peanut played Bernard. But for some odd reason, it seems like they were getting away from that. And it's been hurting them week in and week out.
And isn't the formula when you take on a veteran quarterback like Gus Frerotte, who's not very mobile, Jim, that's what you want to do? Kind of press coverage that gives your defensive line maybe an extra second or so to collapse the pocket and get on them.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of it. I mean, I'm fine if they mix match. I'm all for you got to challenge the receivers and throw off the timing of the routes. But you could see when, let's say, the Bears did go single high and they saw Hunter Hillenmeyer in. That's what led to that Klein saucer is right down the seam, because they recognized, hey, he's not as good in coverage as what Nick Roach, and there was a reason why Roach got taken out of the game as well. They weren't playing up to snuff. So yeah, it's mix and match in certain situations, key situations, that you want to get up and challenge the receivers at key points in the game.
Still to come, we're going to hear from the coordinators, Ron Turner, Bob Babich. We'll hear from Kevin Payne and others. As we head to break, let's take a look at some of the scores from Week 13 of the National Football League. It was a day for the road team. We thought that trend was going to continue tonight. Just 2 home team winners on this day. Tampa Bay taking care of the Saints. The Saints, of course, will be on the lakefront in a couple of weeks. The Packers lost a tough one at Lambeau Field. They're now 2 games back of the Vikings in the NFC North. The G-men just keep rolling on. They take care of the Redskins despite all the problems off the field with Plexico Burress. The Steelers lay a whip into the Patriots, 33-10 at Foxborough. The Raiders lose at home to the Chiefs. Falcons 22-16 over the San Diego Chargers. The Chargers have to be one of the major disappointments this year in the NFL. And the Denver Broncos, they're in first out in the West, and they went to New York and they took care of the New York Bretts. 34-17 the final. We're back with more USA. The Metrodome tonight. Adrian Peterson continues his dominant performance against the men in blue and orange. 90 now carries in the 4 games against the Bears for 554 yards. That's 6.2 yards per carry. Ouch. And 8 tutties. That's, let me do the quick math. That's two a game, guys.
It's pretty good.
It's that Michigan State math coming through once again. Let's find out more what happened in the goal line situation. A guy who was a part of that goal line is John St. Clair of the offensive line. He is standing by with our William Jackson at the Metrodome. Take it away, William.
I appreciate it, Pat and John Sinclair here, and talk about the momentum and how things change. Probably one of the biggest plays or series in the game, the goal line stand. You guys are up 7-3 and look to add to it, and that just seems to change the momentum of the game, huh?
Well, definitely. You got to take your hat off for them for stopping us on the goal line. We thought that we were going to push it in. That's why we went for it on all 4 downs. We had confidence that we would do it. We didn't. So, obviously, they made a good stand. But, like I said, it's one of those games, man. You got to take your hat off to them, man. They played really hard. They have a great defensive line. So, we'll do better, and we will.
Okay, and you guys knew you were talking about going really 3 All-Pros of the top 4 on the defensive line, so you knew it would be a test, but you guys were able to break some big ones with Matt Forte at the same time.
Oh yeah, definitely. So we try to pride ourselves on the run still, no matter what the game was like. But they have some great players on the defensive line, man. I'll tell you what, one of the best lines in the league, man, hands down. So you got to take your hat off to them. Like I said, our confidence is still high. We're not hanging our head for anybody. Just got to go back to the drawing board and go back to work as an offensive line.
And when you talk about that for an offensive line, I know the situation like the goal line stand, you guys take a lot of pride in it because that's the trenches, that's your area.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, that's our pride. It's our job, man. So we take our job very seriously, and we didn't get it done, and we just go back to the drawing board and we go from there.
Okay, does it make it, and we know it's disappointing and all that, but more so when you look at the fact that Green Bay lost today, and you guys really could have separated yourselves from the field and opened something up with 4 games left.
Well, definitely. That was a goal going into the game. I'm sure that was their goal, too. We weren't able to do that. So, so it is what it is, man. So we got a lot of games left. We'll go back to the drawing board, and we will get better. I know that for a fact. So it's just the way it is, man. It's one of those games today, man. But we're not hanging our heads. We're going to keep moving.
And when you talk about keep moving, you guys do see light at the end of the tunnel. If you look at Minnesota, they have a tough road ahead, a couple of tough games, including the Giants. And then you look at just the overall situation. Green Bay's still a game back. You guys can still do something, but you really have to perform for the next 4 games.
Exactly. You got to win out. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, you want to win every game anyway in the NFL. I mean, we're not trying to lose, so we got to win out and let the chips fall where they may. Still a lot of football left. We got to keep pushing, and just go from there, man. We're disappointed. I'm disappointed. So, but I'm not hanging my head, man. I'm just going to keep working and get better.
All right, John, I appreciate it as always, man. Thanks for the time. Okay. All right, Pat, let's go back to you guys in the studio. Again, the Bears lose a disappointing one tonight, but they say they'll come back. 4 games left. We'll see what happens. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, William, thank you very much. We'll send it back to you as soon as you get another player. Here's a look at the offensive line report card. C-, B, C- from Professor Miller, C- from the former offensive lineman. Guys, we've been saying most of the season this offensive line has been doing a very good job. A lot of that, I think, is because early on we didn't think that this offensive line would be able to give us that much this year. Was Matt Forte kind of masking where this offensive line is Matt Forte making the offensive line look better than they are? But truly, when we look at goal line situations, 4th and 1s at various times throughout the year, when they haven't been able to push for that 1 yard, is that maybe really where this offensive line is at? Maybe they're not as good as we've been giving them credit.
You probably spend 99% of your time out, on the field. I mean, you look at the times that you're down the goal line. It's very few that you really have to run a series down there without scoring a touchdown. But you look at the work that they do, between the stripes. And actually, this offensive line, I think, has outplayed most of our expectations for most of the season. Tonight, and I credit John St. Clair for coming out tonight and talking, because I can attest to you, that's no fun to have a game like that where Jared Allen gets 3 sacks on you. I only gave him 2 in my worst game, but I'm just saying that it's not a whole lot of fun. And for him to come out and be man enough to stand up and take the heat is a wonderful thing, I think. But here's the deal. When you talk about how much time you spend out on the field of play trying to get things right in the running game, and Matt Forte has not done everything this season by himself, although a lot of it he has. But anyway, it hasn't been the whole time. His offensive line's been doing some pretty good blocking for him, too.
Well, I'd like to add something. I think John St. Clair, John St. Clair kind of alluded to something there. 3 Pro Bowlers, and we're going right at them. That's a problem. And that's fine, and Lovie Smith can come out and say, hey, we're man on man, we're just going to go out, we're going to pound. If we can't get a yard, we don't deserve to win. You got to give yourself a chance to win, too, because those guys get paid a lot of money. Those guys are Pro Bowlers for a reason, because they're damn good football players. So maybe we can scheme a little bit more in those situations.
We saw a goal line situation. It cost the Packers a win today as well. They got down a goal line late in the ball game, had to settle for a field goal, and ended up costing them. So, it's not like this is exclusive to the game we just witnessed tonight. But you gave the offensive line a split grade.
Run game, great. I thought they were pretty effective in the run game. Here's a case in point down on that goal line. If everybody knows Forte's going to get it, run a 4.38 pass. That's a play-action pass, and it catches the defense off guard. They're going to be focused on Forte. I'd like to see him throw the ball.
Can you put these ideas on paper?
Let's
would that have been a better play-action pass than what the corner route?
Just give it to the fullback.
That would have been. That would have been a great play.
Jason Davis, who's been a part of the team for all of
4 days. Hey,
it was a big 4 days, though, Jigs.
I want to go back to something else, though. When you think about this game, did you have the feeling that, Gus Frerotte had a pretty good ball game? I mean, it was like outstanding. Here's a strange thing. Bernard Berrien had 4 receptions. Chester Taylor out of the backfield, 4 receptions. Adrian Peterson, 2. The rest of the receivers, each one of them had 1 reception. That's unbelievable to still come out and then to win by that margin.
It was a story of big plays. It was a story of big plays. Adrian Peterson, 58 yards, setting up a score. It was the 99-yard touchdown pass to Bernard Berrien. It was the 3 interceptions that led to 17 points
short fields
off the arm of Kyle Orton. Yeah, you know, again, this is, we go to put this in the column of the Tampa Bay Buccaneer game, the Carolina Panther. But when we scrape it all aside, get right down to it, it's a 500 football team, right?
Right.
I mean, if they lined up and played the New York Giants on a neutral field 10 times, they would probably lose 8 of those times.
But they tell you, you only have to play them once to win.
That's right.
in advance.
That's true.
So the whole idea is just to get there and then roll the dice and see what your chances are. Because on any given Sunday.
That's right. as happened in February in Arizona, right?
Exactly.
Kansas City won today. There's hope.
There is hope.
San Francisco won the other day.
Yeah, there is hope.
On the road.
Yeah, there you go.
Man.
All right, still to come on the show, we're going to hear from Matt Forte. We're going to hear from the coordinators as we head to break. Here's a look at our U.S. Cellular poll question. We're going to make you Ron Turner. What play would you have called on 4th and goal from the 1 tonight? Here are your choices. A, the quarterback sneak. You'd run Forte to the outside. C, you would have tried that wildcat formation. D, little play action pass maybe. So Jim Miller called for.
Forte throwing the rock.
E, kick a field goal. Jim Miller also agreed with that. Log on to csnchicago.com. We'll have the results coming up later in the show. Not from Week 13 of the National Football League. Thomas Jones is starting to tear it up for the New York Jets this year after a really difficult season last year for Gang Green. 2 touchdowns today, 139 yards, as long as 59 yards. Mark Clayton, 5 snags for 164 yards and a touchdown. He also threw for 1. And Matt Ryan, the rookie out of Boston College, 17 of 23, 2 touchdowns and a quarterback rating over 130. Who's not? Well, how about Peyton Manning, 15 of 21, 2 interceptions, although the Colts managed to pull one out today. Mark Bulger, 16 of 35, 3 interceptions, matching Kyle Orton on this day. And Matt Castle, back down to earth after a couple 400-yard-plus performances, 19 of 39, a $169, 2 interceptions, a quarterback rating under 40. Brian Urlacher, his line on this evening was 6 tackles. He had 2 for a loss and 1 pass deflection. He addressed the media a short time ago. Let's listen in.
We're still right in the game, you know, just we used to making plays after that. We got the pick there in the 3rd quarter, but we just didn't, we couldn't stop them there second half for a while.
Yeah, it seemed like, their running attack, they were hitting you with some passes. It was just tough to sustain anything and shut them down, wasn't it?
No, we did. I mean, we made some plays when we had to. We had a bunch of 3-and-outs. They had 1 long run, I think, there in the first, second quarter. But for the most part, we were in our gaps and made a bunch of tackles for loss, but just wasn't enough.
Scenario now, you don't control your own destiny. Do you just try to take care of what you can control and hope you get help down the road?
I think that's the obvious answer right there.
Brian, you guys knew this was going to be a battle defensively. What was the difference?
They scored more points than we did. You know, I think 34-14 was the final. That's all it came down to.
You guys came out with so much in the first quarter, and then
yeah, it's a 4-quarter game. You know, it's just that's the way it is. You know, we played good in spurts this season, but we haven't been able to finish games out.
Yeah, are you surprised the game got away from you like this up here today?
Yeah, I mean, you don't ever expect the game to go like that, and you know, we were ready to play. We came out fast. We just we didn't make enough plays late in the game.
Take a look at the linebacker report cards. B's across the board. B- from Jigs. I thought the linebackers played pretty well tonight.
Always solid.
All over the field. I mean, Urlacher, think about that one I was earlier in the first half where he jumps out. Same thing, mug look, and they blitz too strong, and he still had to get out there and cover the seam route of Asante Shenko, the tight end for the Minnesota Vikings. So tells me the guy still got it. He's playing. They're flying
that was
around.
the look that they were getting burned on before.
Absolutely.
Is this team, I think because speed-wise, they tend to play better on the artificial turf. I mean, we've seen it now in Indianapolis, Detroit, the Metrodome now, other various spots around the league, Atlanta, where I don't know if it is, you know, they say that grass is an equalizer to a degree, but this team does seem to play better defensively on turf.
Yeah, you know, there could be something to that because, number one, you're talking about an up-the-field type of a team, and they want to hit in gaps, so that the footing is great on the turf as it normally is indoors. Then that could have a lot to do with them having more success. The problem with this game was, though, is that when you have, it was hit and miss, and you know, the linebackers did an outstanding job. Problem was that, you know, tackling and wrapping a guy up when you have him, him stop for a 2-yard gain, a 3-yard gain that turns into a 59-yard gain. That's the thing that, as a fan, you sit there and look at it and you go, that just drives me nuts, because that's a fundamental of the game, wrapping a guy up and stopping him.
Let's hear from the Bears defensive coordinator, Bob Babich. He addressed the media a short time ago at the Metrodome. Let's listen in.
You have to guess on the deep one.
We don't want to guess at any time. You know, they just got over the top of us and, you know, caught the ball, and we weren't in position to make a tackle.
How would you assess your effort against Peterson?
Well, you know, the 59-yard run, he broke some tackles. We were there to make some plays. You know, so the guy's a good running back. A lot of credit to him. We just need to tackle better, and you know, that was the disappointing part on some of the runs that he did have. But for the most part, I think we did a pretty good job fitting him up.
Coach, how devastating can this be now with this short of a season?
Well, you know, we said a 6-game season. You know, not many games are left. It is disappointing. It's a big game for us, so it was a disappointing loss. And, you know, we just got to go to work. It's the only thing we can do. We got 4 games left, and, you know, we just got to do the best we can, take them one game at a time.
With that bury-in play, I mean, were you envisioning a run, or what were you thinking about there?
Well, you know, at any time when you're making a call, you're thinking one way. Anything can happen. You don't know exactly what's going to go on that play. But, you know, they caught a deep ball over our head, and it's very disappointing.
You talked about the mug look earlier. Is it difficult as the game wears on to continue to do that because it takes so much out of your players? I mean, to put Brian in the line of scrimmage and have him retreat, is that?
Well, I think it shows, and we were kind of just touching on it right there. The Bears are great in third down. You know, they were, you know, what did we say, 21% today getting Minnesota off the field. The problem with it, look how many completions Gus Frerotte did have on first down where they get 10 yards. So I think it's tough for those guys to come up, get back, and at times Urlacher can do it and Briggs can do it because they're great athletes, but you know, teams are going to gash on it too, and I think that's where they had their success, is on first and second down where Gus got some big plays down the field throwing the ball.
Alan Oser agrees with you guys. He chimes in on CSNChicago.com. He says the Bears had Peterson bottled up pretty good. Then Payne came flying in and took 2 Bear defenders with him. Peterson got 59 yards on the play. I think AP should send Payne a thank you card or something. LOL.
Give his teammates a neck roll, something like that. I don't know.
All right.
Let me know when you're coming, baby.
Still to come, we're going to hear from Matt Forte. We'll hear from Ron Turner and others on Bears U.S. Cellular post-game live or something of that at 11:39 Chicago.
You want
time.
a neck roll, Pat?
Yeah, I do. I need one. And an egg roll. Down the Bears offense Wednesday. They'll focus on the defense on Thursday. It's Bears Blitz. Check it out Wednesdays and Thursdays right here on Comcast Sportsnet. Check out the remaining games now for the Bears and the team they are chasing in the NFC North. The Bears now home for 3 straight at Soldier Field, beginning with Jacksonville. Then they got that Thursday night tilt against the Saints. Then it's the Green Bay Packers on Monday Night Football. And then they got to go to Houston. Here's the Vikings schedule at Detroit. It certainly probably looks like a win there. Arizona could be tough, difficult for them. Against Atlanta and against the New York Giants. Handicap that for us, guys.
I think it's in the Bears' favor. I mean, there's no doubt. I think Minnesota's schedule is a lot more difficult than the Chicago Bears. The New Orleans Saints game scares me. because they can do a lot of things formation-wise. You saw how they destroyed the Green Bay Packers, and we thought that was a pretty formidable defense. They dissected everybody.
Here's the thing about New Orleans, though. You get them out of the dome, and I hate to say, I'm not going to use that phrase that we always use here, but they don't play really well in cold weather. So, you know, if the weather is right, that might, you know, influence that game a little bit. But, you know, the game I'm worried about right now, Jacksonville.
That's right. This is true, and we got to shore some things up on that defense. Peanut Tillman gives up the 99-yard touchdown pass to Bernard Berrien. Peanut addressed the media a short time ago. That was one of the topics. Let's listen in.
He came backside and he threw it to number 1. You know, it was a zone coverage, and I had Bernard and whoever the I think it was a tight end, whoever the tight end was. Zone coverage, I was covering both, and I had 2 verts. I choose to take number 2, and just like I said, just a good play on their part. No excuses. It's a good play, good game plan. It was a good call. Great offensive execution.
Like I said, it's 3 deep coverage in that case. I mean, are you supposed to jump inside? What are your responsibilities in that case, and what went wrong?
What went wrong was they scored.
You jumped inside, like you saw something inside. You jumped inside and he got behind you.
Well, I mean, initially, the way it kind of works out is number, you know, he pumped the backside hard. I had 2 verts. He's looking away, so I tried to squeeze number 2 a little bit, but he came backside and threw it to number 1.
Momentum after that, Charles. Did you just feel like it just felt like the air just went out after that?
Somewhat in a sense, you know, football is a game of momentum, and that was definitely a momentum shifter on their part. You know, the momentum was in their favor. You know, we got it back a little bit, but just couldn't sustain it all the way. And I don't know. You know, I think we fought hard. They just fought harder. You know, you got to give credit when credit's due. You know, they deserve to win that game. We went out there. I thought we played hard. They just played harder.
On his defense or his explanation of what happened on the 99-yard touchdown pass to Berrien, did what he say jive with what you thought happened?
Absolutely not, because I did not see a threat of number 2, and I don't understand why he was squeezing down to number 2, because usually, you know, in this coverage, cover 3, you have to play the number 1 receiver, the guy that's right in front of your face, and you have to play him with a lot of depth. Now, Peanut didn't have enough depth. First of all, that was the first mistake, and the second mistake was he talked about there was a number 2 wide receiver and he was squeezing down. We actually didn't see him unless it was some phantom.
I just thought he was pattern reading it. Like I said, if you know you got a Y on a shallow, normally 9 times out of 10 you got an in route coming behind it, because it's trying to put the will linebacker in a bind where you can high low, because it's a zone coverage. It's a cover 3, and I think he pattern read it, and I think Minnesota probably have seen that in the past where maybe he was cheating, thinking he'd get the underneath.
But he's not even supposed to be involved in that play, because with this coverage, there's 4 underneath defenders. You have, you know, a curl flat, a hook curl, and a curl flat. So you have to let those defenders work, and you just have to squeeze down the threat of
Here's
number 2.
the question I would ask myself. If I don't cover the guy that's in front of me, who's going to cover him? And if I know that they're, you know, the 3 guys deep, and I said, well, and I'm the furthest outside, and this guy's running on my outside shoulder. If I don't cover him, well, am I expecting that safety to come all the way across the field?
See, I understand what he's saying about getting in between number 1 and number 2 if they're going vertical and they're threatening you down the football field. But you have to do that with depth, you know, and there wasn't enough depth by Peanut Tillman.
I agree with your analysis. I thought the same thing when we were down in Miami at the Super Bowl. The Colts receivers were sprinting to the back of the end zone. All right, time for another break here. We're going to hear from Matt Forte on the other side. Keep it here on US Cellular Bears Postgame Live. Sports Day. Time now for the guys to give us their Monsters of the Midway, presented by IPA, otherwise known as the Bears MVP. And we begin with you, Jerry.
I'm going with the leading rusher, the leading passer, receiver, Forte. This was easy. Forte is the only one that came to play today, in my opinion.
Like him, he's a playmaker. I'm going with Forte too, doing a phenomenal job. And not only same thing, blocking. You know, the kid's doing it all. So, you know, it's one bright spot of the Bears offense right now, and obviously more plays need to be designed to go to him.
They can't decide anymore.
They tried.
He's got to throw the ball on the goal line. Put the play in.
Run it to the fullback.
If he handles the football anymore, they'll have to pay him. They'll have to start paying him for next season.
He's gonna
just give him the
punt.
ball all the
He's gonna
time.
punt. Then we're gonna
Kickoff returns,
we're gonna overuse him like we do Devin Hester.
Block in.
And then we're gonna screw.
And then come on defense.
His tongue should be hanging out at the end of it.
All right, so it's a clean sweep. We all pick Matt Forte. That puts him in the lead by 7 over Lance Briggs and KO. And speaking of the Raging Cajun, Matt Forte from Tulane. He addressed the media a short time ago. Let's listen in.
Yeah, I mean, we just got to win out. And, I mean, that was our mindset before, but, you know, we just got to continue to play well and stop making mistakes and, you know, play good, sound football.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Matt. Matt, I hate to have you relive it, but could you just go over that situation in the second quarter? You tried to punch it through.
They did a good goal line stand, and in situations like that, you know, we got to find a way to get in the end zone no matter what.
And that's the time when you want the ball most. I mean, how disappointing is that to not get it?
It's real disappointing when you don't get in the end zone at all, especially on the 1-inch line. So.
Yeah, what did you guys see in their defense at the goal line that made you guys play action and then 3 straight runs?
I mean, we figured we would try to hit them with a pass first. You know, they're all stacked up in there. And then we try to hit them with the run. So, I mean, we just got to push them off the ball and try to get in any means necessary, you know.
On the other side, I mean, you look at a guy like Adrian Peterson, just your thoughts. I mean, it just seems like anything he does, he's moving the chains.
Great running back. I mean, anytime you give him the ball, he's going to make something happen.
And how about for you now as you going home and going back to play Jacksonville? I mean, the optimism's got to come back somehow. So how do you get that back?
Just go back to work and, you know, figure things out and, you know, just come out next week and forget about this week and we'll try to win the game.
You're over the 1,000-yard mark. It is a sweet moment, but still something that you can hang your hat on a little bit.
We didn't win, so, I mean, I'm not even worried about it. So, I mean, I'm just trying to come out and do what I got to do so we can win games.
Plays great on the field, says all the right things when it's over. Here is our U.S. Cellular poll question. What play would you have called at 4th and goal from the 1-yard line tonight? Your choices: quarterback sneak, run Forte outside, wildcat formation, little play action pass, or how about try a Robbie Gould field goal? You got a couple more seconds here at csnchicago.com. We'll have the results after this. Tonight, Jiggs, you picked this one from the lot. Hey, this guy read your book.
Yeah, Hallis pulled Ditka aside after not scoring on 4 tries and wrote on a napkin how to run the quarterback sneak against both the odd and even man lines. Ditka had it in his game plan every game after that. Somebody get that napkin and show it to Lovey, please. For that, my friend Tom from Del Rapids, South Dakota, you win a copy of our wonderful book here. And then Ditka said to Peyton, and I hope you enjoy it, my friend. We look forward to maybe having you respond afterwards and let us know how you enjoyed it.
And we'll get that napkin to Lovey and Ron Turner. Coming up next, it's the always popular Jerry's GQ and the results to our poll questions. You got your work cut out. I don't know what you're going to go with.
No, it's going to be interesting.
Coming up next. Whatever that. And I certainly would have gone 3rd down with the fullback dive, but
secret weapon.
Yeah, the secret weapon. Let's hopefully
nowhere.
that weapon has been destroyed. That is, yeah, that's not good. All right, time now for Jerry's GQ. The Dapper One picks his best dressed bear. What do you got for us tonight, Jerry?
Well, it was a tough decision. You know, Devin Hester obviously was looking sharp. You know, but I have to call audible right here.
You got to call audible.
Check. Blue 64.
Yes, it's you know, Jerry's GQ, and it's an award
from me to me.
So
now, let me ask you a question.
I'm going to win this week.
What are you wearing tonight? Just
well,
so
you know, 2 people, Dolce & Gabbana.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Tailored suit.
Gucci shirt.
Nice.
Dolce & Gabbana tie.
And
Prada
what about
shoes,
the kicks?
Prada shoes.
Let the viewers know this is a new suit, specially tailored.
That's
very
right.
nice.
So,
But you bring the goods out. It's Sunday night, you know.
I have to get this thing back
at
on
least
track.
a carat and a half in each ear, right?
2 carats.
2 carats. My bad. I'm sorry.
And we are in a recession, though. But this is.
But hey, it's Jerry's GQ, man. I have to uphold.
All right. Well,
sales everywhere, right?
Our thanks to Dolce & Gabbana for hooking up Jerry on this night. Here's a look at our Jerry's GQ winners from week to week. Zoom checks in now at Lucky Week 13. All right, guys, 6-6, 4 games to play. Are the Packers done at 5-7? Are they done?
the way the other teams in the division, I don't know. They still got an outside shot.
We'll see
Who
what
knows?
happens.
This has been a strange season.
They're home for 3, beginning with Jacksonville next Sunday. We will see you next after that game. Thanks for watching U.S. Cellular Bears Postgame Live. For Zoom, for Jim, for Jiggs, and for William Jackson, I'm Pat Boyle. See you next week after that Jaguars game. Josh Moore is next with Sports.
There's